Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. Guess who I am? It's me. It's Sean. I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love. With those you love to do them with, guys, it is Wednesday. That's right, it's Wednesday. We have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and most of Monday. So 5.5 days, we'll call it. I hope you guys are calmer. Because don't worry, Tottenham is selling more players. I mean, what are we doing? Vescovic is about to go on loan to Hamburg, my club out of Germany. And looks like Bissouma's on his way to Turkey. Looks like Bissouma is on his way to this place.
This is the Turkey segment. The Turkey segment of the show.
I don't know who's going to be more of a turkey, Galatasaray or Daniel Levy. If the window finishes as it looks. Like, what's going on, people? What is going on? We are selling. I mean, I'm still not panicking. Nobody panic. I mean, it's a little bit squeaky bum time, isn't it? Let's be honest. 6 days to go. Nothing really progressed. Semenyo's gone all sorts of quiet. Haven't heard anything about that one in all week, and we're at the halfway point in the week. He apparently left the bid in the capable hands of Manchester City on Saturday night, and we haven't heard anything about it since. You know, it's like when your uncle, when your brother or whatever leaves your nephews or nieces at your house and says, "I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to go out for a walk. You can take 5, please." And then they disappear all day. And you, where are you? I'm in the pub. What is going on? What's going on? But don't worry. Our fearless ITK leader, Romero himself, well, he's been talking again.
Yeah, come on, yeah. Sources, everyone has a source. They're never right, but we'll share them, of course. I know a guy who knows all the discourse. Content's got a content, and trust me, bro, is my source.
Content has to content, and trust me, bro, that is the source. That's the source that I'm seeing all over the place. This morning, last night, we got Spurs journo, who, bless him, has been he's been going through the ringer for having the audacity to put his head above the parapet. There's no value in being an ITK. Everyone demands to know what's going on. Everyone loves to see it. But if you dare to get it wrong, oh dear, they come for you. Twitter comes for you with the knives. What was that? Swiper66 Main West 21. That's an interesting name. You sound like a postcode, bro. That was a little bit of my personality on display. You must be new around here because that's what we do. We have jingles. If it's not for you, Bugsy, shut up. If it's not for you, she's always got to have the last word, that dog. Always got to have the last word. Yeah, we do that all the time, mate. Do you want another one? I've got a few to wind you up. Dan E said we should go get Sancho. Do you know what? I'm sure most people rolled their eyes, right? Or laughed if he said that. I'm sure most people went, "What are we doing here? No chance." I actually... You want another one, dear? You want another one? All right, then. What should we go for? How about this? Jadon Sancho?
No chance this happens, and you wanna know why. Last time I checked, baby pigs don't fly.
Jadon Sancho isn't happening. Jadon Sancho won't be happening. However, if there's anybody out there that can coach the right version of him and bring the right version out, it might be Thomas Frank and Cochrane. Strap yourself in, mate. If you're new around here, I've got about 40 of those things. 40, 50. Anyway, this is what we do here, James. This is what we do here. This is what we do, you know? We go about and we find little things that represent, you know, feelings in the form of jingles. I've got some more for you later on as well. But anyway, so Spurs Journo, whose name is Poseidon, he said last night that we're all about Ademola Lookman. And I responded saying, everyone's late to that party, you know. I was saying we should be signing him before it was popular. I think it was back in it was the day after the Europa League final. I think I started doing my no, it was the day that the season finished. So it was after the Brighton game. Because after the Brighton game, the very last day of the season, unless other European leagues finished a week later, then the Y Scout updates all its metrics for the year. And so I started running through looking for wingers. And that's when I just sort of thought, oh, hang about. Garnacho, Ademola Lookman, Anthony Gordon. They're the three that surprisingly tick the boxes that I would be looking for. And then over time, everybody's come around to the idea of Ademola Lookman. And it's fine. The reality is, though, that there's no real noise or news about that particular... Why is my settings changed? I don't like that big bubble. I like smaller bubbles. And also, where's my banner? Where's my wrap thing? Oh, there we go. Makes me feel a little bit more secure, like I'm in a protective bubble of frames. Anyway, let's have a little look-see, shall we? Let's see what the chat's do. So we got Kang In to talk about. We've got Adrian Rabiot to talk about. Romano says we've got Antoine Semenyo to get excited about, potentially. I mean, it's a scramble. We are scrambling. We are scrambling hard. But listen, I've now parked myself into a corner because on the one hand now, I don't trust anything that Romano says or any of them. On the other hand, content's got a content. And trust me, bro, is my source. So, you know, Stuart Boy saying, Sean, I actually think we aren't getting any in. How many do you think we will get in? At this stage, mate, I think 1. At this stage, I hope 2. I'd love 3. I do think we'll get 1. I think we'll massively overpay for them. Don't really care. That's the punishment. That's the club's fault for effing around all summer. But if you're only going to get 1, then you don't get Savio, in my opinion. Like, Savio, for me, is a luxury player if you have a 10 that's a bit of a sort of bulldozer as well, like a Paqueta, someone like him that can play in the 8-10, the Morgan Gibbs White thing. I put a tweet out yesterday saying, did you see him last night? Did you see how good he was last night? It was a-la-ta-ta-ta. He was very good, even though they ended up losing the game. Strand Larson gets a couple of goals. Strand Larson's in my FPL team, has done nothing in the Premier League, goes to the Carabao Cup, bangs in a double. Typical. By the way, as I said yesterday, Newcastle United are also on the scramble, right? They're now pursuing Strand Larson. Are they still pursuing Wissa? Or has Wissa basically been shut down? It's going down day by day. Well, yeah. Time expiration of value, mate. Time expiration of value. It is what it is, you know? Paratici will make it 3. Trust. Listen, Micky. Hey, Micky. I hope you're right. And I hope that this new explosion of sources, explosion of names, is because Paratici's back in charge. And he's waiting, right? So the news yesterday that came out from all over the sources was that Paratici's back, but it's going to wait until after his civil case. Now, I don't know. As far as I'm aware, in the UK, civil cases can only lead to like financial punishments, not anything more. That might not be the same in Italy with sports stuff. I don't know. But as far as I was aware, the reason why AC Milan pulled out of hiring Paratici again was because they were still because they were still. In fact, let me get this. Let me get the thing up. Let's walk, pause. Paratici civil case, and then we go to news. Okay, so let's look at this one. This is from April. And get it up on the screen. This is all part of the show today. This is what we're doing. By the way, guys, tonight at 6 p.m. we've got an interesting week of content on this channel. Right, so tonight at 6 p.m. Excuse me. I have Billy T from Change for Tottenham coming on. He's making his debut on the channel, and we are going to be talking, obviously, about their protest on Saturday. I want to understand. I want to get it from the horse's mouth. What exactly it's not going to be. It is a promotion. Like, I'll always promote the protests. I'm always more than happy to promote anyone that wants to protest anything in life. To be entirely honest, like if I had a channel that was more politically motivated, and I might do in the future, because I'm passionate about politics as well, then I would take the sort of Piers Morgan route, just with less screaming and shouting. I'd like to be able to promote or at least interview people that represent a variety of different sides, rather than the news media, which picks their side and then generally either just lambasts one and supports the other, regardless of the detail. Anyway, Change for Tottenham is coming on, or Billy's coming on tonight. And I just want to have a frank conversation with him, because I think he knows how I feel. I respect him as a person very much. I respect him as a content creator or as a representation of the movement. But I don't really have that much, have that many positive things to talk about their Twitter conduct. I think it's opportunistic, and I think it's sloppy at times and a little bit unprofessional. It looks a little so I'm going to be quite, investigative, I guess. I want to understand what it is that they want and how it is they think the best way to go about it, but at the same time promote their message for Saturday. So it will be a good conversation. You can't see Sean as a David Frost. Yeah, fair enough. A pissed David Frost, Sean, I would subscribe to any future political channel. Thank you, Lee. I'm not saying I'll do it. I'm just saying it would be nice to be able to expand your conversation away from just football. We did a little bit of what did we do on Sean Butler TV? We did a couple of conspiracy theory shows, didn't we? That was fun. I need to bring them back. Need to bring them back. Is that the pigs the conspirative party? Well done. I like that. Very clever. Very, very clever. How about one change for Tottenham? Stop protesting. Well, listen, I think protesting is right. I think protesting is necessary. And this is what I want to ask him, right? Because I think I heard him before saying, the value or the rationale for protesting midsummer was that, there's if there's a big influence, a big energy behind it, then it will lean pressure into the board, right? And indirectly, they'll maybe take some more accountability and make a bit more of an effort. And I think there's a reasonable argument to say that those sorts of things do have indirect value in that regard. But at the same time, if that's the case, following that logic train, then we have to also assume that if you do that with that intended outcome and then nobody turns up, then if the argument is that if thousands of people turn up, the board pay attention and make more of an effort, then isn't the opposite also true if nobody turns up, as what happened last weekend or the weekend before last? Then the board assume that there's not that much alignment with that message and that the board can take their foot off the gas. I hope neither are true. I hope that the board is doing what they're doing and always thinking about and trying to make things work. If it takes fan pressure to make the board move, then that's a problem. But if that's the case, then if you put yourself out there above the parapet and 15 people turn up, then the board would also take that same exercise and say, well, the fans are happy. So it's a double-edged sword, right? It's a double-edged sword. And that's what I want to ask them. And again, is this Saturday the right time to do it? I don't know. We'll find out, though. That's happening tonight. Then tomorrow, if you are on Twitter, you might be familiar with a man called Jacko Cats. He's an Italian guy. Very interesting Twitter handle. I think he's got a smaller channel. I think I plugged it yesterday for you guys. He's coming on tomorrow at like 4 o'clock for a tactical breakdown and just to talk all things. And he's a football kind of guy. So he's not interested in like having a debate about Levy or whatever. He wants to talk football generally. So that'd be interesting. And then at 5 o'clock, you've got the Champions League draw. And then on Friday, I've also got someone new coming on the channel, who I'll bring to your attention later. So there is a lot going on this channel. So make sure you smash the like button. I am on a massive tangent, Nick, aren't I? Let's get back to the game. Let's get back to the game, shall we? Let's get back to the plan. Here we go. Let's go. Wrong thing. So here we go. Ex-Juventus chief, including Paratici, will go to trial in May. Is it on the screen? It is. This is from April the 15th of this year. Former Juventus directors Andrea Agnelli, Pavel Nedved, and Fabio Paratici will have the first hearing in this civil trial on May 19th after an appeal was rejected. I love you, mate. You're always there to kick me back. Like I do go on these little random waffles, don't I? Hang on. Thing's about to collapse. My battery's about to die. You always put me back on track, mate. I appreciate you. Appreciate those people that are keeping me on track. While they all received bans in their sporting trial for artificially inflating profit margins on transfer fees, the wheels of the Italian justice system moved considerably slower, and that trial is yet to even fully begin. Calcio Finanza confirmed that Rome judge Anna Maria Gavoni rejected the request from lawyers representing Juve and former directors to annul the hearing over some technicalities. Instead, the trial will go ahead, and the first hearing is scheduled for May the 19th. That must have already happened then. Among those involved are ex-president of Juve, Andrea Agnelli, the vice president, Pavel Nedved, former CEO, Maurizio Aravabeni, and sporting director, Paratici. It is because of this looming trial and the possible consequences that Milan decided to withdraw their approach to hire Paratici as the new director. So let's look at this from Football Italia then. This is April the 4th of this year. Reports in Italy claim Milan could surprisingly drop Fabio Paratici and look for a new sporting director due to legal matters. The Rossoneri CEO Giorgio Fulani had reached an agreement with Paratici to become the new Rossoneri sporting director in 25-26, but the latest updates from Italy suggest the deal is on the verge of collapsing. Gazzetta dello Sport reporter Luca Bianchin wrote on X, formerly Twitter, that legal obstacles are too high, so the Serie A giants will likely pick a different candidate for the job. Sport Italia's Francesco Letizia also reports that the deal between Paratici and Milan is on the verge of collapsing. I just want to make sure that I'm not on mute like I was yesterday. Can everyone still hear me? Yeah, you can still hear me. Good. Do you know I had to edit that 3-minute silence out of the video for the podcast yesterday? Paratici is serving a 30-month ban for artificially inflating capital gains during his final years at Juventus. The ban ends on July the 20th, meaning Paratici could not complete transfers for the Rossoneri or any other club until that date. Iglitara and Tony D'Amico had previously been linked with the Milan sporting director role. The Rossoneri are expected to hire a new director with deep knowledge of Serie A and Italian football, meaning that Tara and D'Amico are favourites over Kim Falkenberg, Thiago Sicuro, and Marcus Krosch of Eintracht Frankfurt. Interesting. Anyway, so that's the sort of that was from April, right? So, and obviously it hasn't been done yet. It hasn't been done. Like the trial's not finished. The civil lawsuit isn't finished. But if Milan are happy to walk away saying that the obstacles are too high, then maybe the consequences of being found guilty are not just financial. Usually in the English court system, as far as I understand it, if you've got a civil court case, it's basically figuring out whether or not you owe someone else money or someone else owes you money, and that the courts are there to mediate. There's no prison time, there's no bans, there's none of that stuff. It's basically just financial compensation or consequence. So, but if Milan aren't willing to do it, are Tottenham willing to do it? And by the way, on top of that, how much of a potential future nightmare is that situation going to turn out to be if we hire him back because we've decided that Johan Lang isn't fit for purpose, if Levy or whoever else is saying he's not good enough, he screwed up on many occasions, then so we're going to see him out. We're going to end up making Paratici the guy after the civil case is complete, and hopefully he's innocent or there's no more problems and it's a fine or whatever. But what happens if he is guilty and that those circumstances are not the way that they represent themselves in the UK courts, where maybe civil in Italy means something different? And I don't know. And I'm not sure as hell not going to research it on the screen right now. In fact, let's do it. Let's ask Grok. Let's ask Grok. Grok, please explain the possible outcomes of Fabio Paratici's civil court case in Italy that started in May 2025 and is yet to be concluded. Is that prompt engineering? Have I just figured it out? Let's get that on the screen. Let's have a look-see. Let's see what Grok's going to tell us. It'll probably say all sorts of terrible information. Whilst we're waiting for Grok to figure it out, Spurs fan John, almost 900 watching and not even 150 likes yet. That's 1/6. Terrible ratio. Come on, give Sean a like. Yeah, give me a like, boys and girls. Give me a like. Let's have a look. Are they still reading the thing? Johnny Hands in the house, big up to you. The Don was never going to be installed unless he was cleared in the civil case. The civil case isn't over yet, is it? I don't think it's over yet. And that's the concern, though. If you're going to... So the point was, whilst we're waiting for this to figure itself out, if we are waiting... And again, I don't know. I did like a nine parts... I was fully ingrained. I was fully ingratiated into the Fabio Paratici story 2 years ago when... How do we get Super Grok? You have to be a paying member, I think. I'm going to do the super chats in a minute, guys. Appreciate you. Oh, here we go. He's talking to us. Let's have a look-see. Fabio Paratici's ongoing court case in Italy stems from allegations of false accounting during his time as Juventus sporting director. To clarify, while some reports refer to it as a civil trial, it is actually a criminal proceeding penal trial. I don't know if Grok's often wrong, by the way. Grok is often wrong. But under Italian law, focusing on financial misconduct such as artificially inflating player transfer values to manipulate balance sheets and stock market reporting. The case involves Paratici alongside former Juventus executives, including Andrea Agnelli, Pavel Nedved. Yeah, okay, so he's up to date, so he knows what he's talking about. It officially began on May the 19th in a Rome court after a judge rejected motions to dismiss it. The trial relates to broader investigations into Juventus's financial practices between 2018 and 2021, including the Prisma probe. This is interesting. By Turin prosecutors. Paratici and the others deny wrongdoing. This is separate from the sporting sanctions imposed by the Italian Football Federation and FIFA, which resulted in Paratici's 30-month ban from football activities, now expired. The current case could impact his reputation and future roles, but doesn't directly affect sporting bans. Okay, that's good. As of August 27th, the case remains unresolved, with a key hearing scheduled for September 22nd. In late June 2025, Paratici and his co-defendants proposed a plea bargain. We're not guilty, but we'll take an outcome known as, what's that word? Pedaggiamento, which was agreed upon with prosecutors. Ooh! The mechanism allows defendants to accept a reduced penalty without a full admission of guilt. I'm not guilty, but I go to prison. Potentially avoiding a lengthy trial. The judge, Anna Maria Gavoni, will decide whether to approve it. Here we go. This is the big bit. Based on Italian legal precedents for a similar white-collar financial crimes, plea bargain accepted. The judge approves the deal on September the 22nd, closing the case without further trial. Paratici would receive a suspended sentence of 18 months. Suspended means no actual... Fucking hell! Convicts FC. Unless he commits another offence. Oh, don't give him the keys to Tottenham Hotspur. Fuck's sake. He and the others would pay compensation to civil parties, around 200 effective stakeholders, including investors and regulatory bodies like Consob. Exact amounts aren't specified, but could run into hundreds of thousands of euros. That's all right. I'm sure we'll pay that off. Additional fines or minor restrictions might apply, but no severe long-term consequences beyond reputational damage. This aligns with past Italian cases of plea bargain. Okay, so basically suspended sentence and money if the plea bargain is accepted. If it's rejected, the judge deems the proposed penalties insufficient or finds procedural issues. The full trial resumes, potentially lasting months or years with appeals. If evidence is deemed inadequate, Paratici can be fully cleared. This has happened in similar high-profile Italian cases where technical defences succeed. A conviction, Paratici could face a harsher sentence, such as 2 to 4 years in prison, likely suspended for a first-time offender. Larger fines and restitution orders. In extreme cases, disqualification from executive roles in companies could apply, though this is rare for non-violent crimes. Civil damages claims from affected parties would follow, potentially in the millions collectively. Appeals could extend the process into 2026 or beyond, with Italy's multi-tiered court system, first instance appeal Supreme Court. Rejection is less likely, given the Okay. But it could occur if new evidence emerges or public pressure mounts. Regardless of the outcome, Paratici has already resumed advisory work in football, as the criminal case doesn't impose new sporting bans. Okay. Fair play, Grok. Fair play. We figured that one out pretty quickly. So, my suspect, my convict. Wowzers. My convict, DOF. What are we doing here? So it looks like then, so 20. Oh, the internet's going. Big up to Sava. Sava Ray. Sean's in the mud. Sean's in the mud. Am I? Someone's in the mud. Someone's in the
Mud for you. You're always in the mud. You didn't think it could be true, and now you're in the
mud. Jeez. Sean frozen like the Spurs in the transfer market. The Spurs doff, the Don of football. Yeah, look, thank you, Sava. Appreciate you, mate. Welcome, everybody. Smash the like, smash the subscribe, come and say hello. What are we doing here, people? Okay, so we've figured out that the Don's coming back in all likelihood, but we have to wait until the 22nd of September, because if Daniel Levy was to then say, come in tomorrow, and then on the 22nd of September, the plea deal was rejected, then who's in the mud? Then Daniel Levy's in the mud. Then everybody's in the mud. Tottenham Hotspur in the mud once again. I tell you what, though, this is the question I've got for you guys. And I want you to hit a 1 in the comment if you... a 1 or a 0, right? If you believe that Daniel Levy should step aside and hand over footballing operations to a football operator, then that is likely going to be Paratici. But given Paratici is a potential first-time offender or on 18 months of suspended sentence for financial crimes... in football, inflating fees and all this stuff. I haven't even said that. I haven't even given you the 1 or 0 yet. You're already putting your answers in. What are we doing here? Calm down, people. Calm down. I haven't even given you the options. Why are you putting 1s and 0s? That's not what I haven't even asked the question. You're absolutely, you're shameless, you lot. You're shameless. Gone from monitoring FC to ankle monitor FC. Sensational, Just Nathan. That is sensational. I've not even noticed your name before, bro. That is a sensational comment. If that's your debut comment on the channel, welcome, mate. You are welcome around here. That's superb. Anyway, let's get back to the game. I don't know what you put all numbers in. You haven't got. What were we doing here? What are we doing here? You're winding me up. You're winding me up. We're doing it again. Anyway, what I was going to say was, if you want Daniel Levy to step aside, I'm not saying 1 for yes, 0 for no. I'm saying if you want him to step aside and you want someone else to come in that's got control of the keys to the financial war chest, do you want Fabio Paratici to be in charge, given his I don't know, suspicious relationship with financial crimes in football? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Do you want Paratici to take over all things football, including the money? Including the monetary side of the game? Or do you think we should find somebody else? That's all I was asking. Okay, now the one's coming in so soon. The one's coming. Do you want Levy? Yes, one, I do. I want him to go. It's not even what I said. It's not even what I asked. You lot are shameless. Where's the ones and the zeros on this one? Let's have a look, see. Mr. John is saying, no, he doesn't. Stewart does. That is something else. Stratus does. Woody no. THFC 1. Huge fan of white collar crime. I'm more of a blue collar crime guy myself, to be honest. You know, more of a blue collar crime guy. Kivy saying 2. Wants something different. Deathly Main 1s, 2s. Everyone's being weird. Everyone's being weird. I can't play this game if you're all going to be weird. What are we doing here? Get them both out, says Martin. Afternoon, Sean from Cornwall. Up the Spurs. Up the Cornwall, David. Up the Cornwall, mate. Hope you're okay. Perry Walker does. He's innocent, I tell you. Innocent. I'd soon. Oh, internet's gone again. Ain't cheating, you ain't trying, says the only one and only. I am the one and only 449. Is there 448 ones before you, the one and only? Superb. Superb. I am the one and only, but there's 449 people that have gone before me with that name. Big up to you. Let's get some super chats going, and then we're going to get into looking at Semenyo, Rabiot, and the others that we're linked with today that are coming out of nowhere, thick and fast. Maybe the Don is back, spinning plates. Aratata. Stratters. Big up to you, Stratters. How you doing, mate? He's become a new YouTube member. Appreciate you, mate. Appreciate you. Very cool of you, mate. Very cool of you. Hope you're okay, buddy. Thank you, mate. I'll speak to you. That's another thing I've got to do this week, haven't I? I'm supposed to be doing the fan phone show tonight, but I'm doing the show with Billy T. So I'll do it Friday, probably. Do it Friday. Thank you very much, mate. Come and say hello on the show. Lee Kang In. Yeah, I'll take him. I'll take Lee Kang In. I think he's a quality player. Very, very good player. Do you? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know. Lee Kang In or Lee Kang Out? Put it in the comments. Comment me up. Lee Kang In, Lee Kang Out. Big up to you, though, Beak Bobies. That's a good name. Dean Law's in the house. He started the super sticker train. Big up to you, man. Appreciate you, mate. Choo-choo to you, Deanie. You're always here doing the super sticker love. Oh, shut up, the train. Shut up. Appreciate you very much, Dino. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're very well, mate. Ulrika's here, all the way from the bathtub, all the way from the Australian bathtub. Drying her bits, get the G&T going. If people protest all the time, it puts off potential buyers. There's a lot of potential in that potential. And therefore, we keep Levy Enoch. What an own goal. Yeah, I think protests have to be... It's a fine line. It's a very fine line between getting it right and getting it wrong. If you protest every chance you get, I think it looks consistent and committed, but I think it can look weak, especially if the if the wind in the sails changes direction. But at the same time, if you only protest when things are bad, then you look like you're just waiting for your next chance to be right, which a lot of people do in life. A load of people do it in content. And the content space is full of egos of everyone who just wants to be right until I told you so. And I've been saying this forever and yada, 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 all that shit. And myself included in that regard. So it's a fine line between the right balance between consistent displeasure, but also reading the room. And also, if you protest and no one turns up, it looks really weak. And again, like they put out, I mean, I will talk about this later on, but they put out a message yesterday saying that we did the protest against Burnley, no one turned up. Then 2 days later, the Eze story happened, and they said, oh, this is why we protest. And then now they're doing another protest because they think the energy's there for it. But they're saying that they'll cancel the protest if we sign a player or two. So, I mean, that again looks weird to me. Like we feel very, very strongly that we're trying to organise a protest, but if someone signs on a contract, then we'll park it because there won't be the energy. This is why I think that like it's a very difficult thing to do, to try to assume that you're representing the opinions of, you know, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, especially when you broaden out your message to mean anything at all. Like Change for Tottenham, I don't know what it means. I know what I believe the people that are leading it want, but they have seen the previous attempts at doing that, like the Levy Out marches from a couple of years ago, that got like 50 people turning up, and they like a rebrand is fine, but if you're just broadening the appeal so that you can try to make it look busier than you want, and then eventually you're just tiptoeing everybody across through like incrementalism to move people into the lead, like move people that were kind of, I just want him to do better, I want him to care more, I want him to be more ambitious. You want to sort of broadly group everyone and then represent that as a Levy Out movement. That again looks disingenuous. It's a very, very difficult thing to represent a movement. And if you're making it broad, then I don't know if you ever stand for anything that's consistent, because there's going to be someone there that says he has to go, he's a parasite. And there's going to be someone there that's also saying, I just want him to care more. I want him to negotiate in good faith. And they're not the same thing. They are not the same thing. Like if you've got 100% happiness, 100% of a satisfaction poll on Levy, not only does that pendulum swing in the moment because of emotions of a game, of an outcome of a transfer, of, you know, some decision around whatever, but on top of that pendulum swinging, where the movement itself, even in its broad outlook, will have a general swathe of energy towards or away from it. But on top of that, within that movement, I don't think you can represent everybody, because there's a massive difference between try more, do better, to get out of my club. I want people to be protesting outside of his house. I want him to be, you know, if he was walking down the street, I'd punch him in the face, kind of thing. And like, therefore, that's why I'm talking to Billy tonight, because he's very smart, and I want to understand exactly what the ambitions of the movement are. Because I don't really understand it, to be honest. But thank you very much for the super chat, Ulrika. Good to see you. Ian 3207 saying, Sean, have you run everyone that's left through the Y Scout? Heard his brother, everyone that's right is far better. Have I run everyone that's left through the Y Scout? I've run a lot of people. I've run hundreds of people through the Y Scout. I've never felt my mind so occupied with random people, random players, talents that I'll never watch play in real life because they're playing for, like, I don't know, some team in Scandinavia. By the way, Bodo back in the Champions League. Also, by the way, Celtic out, Kazakhstan in, and Paphos FC in. I mean, it's the Group 4 Champions League pot. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well, by the way. We're going to talk about that in a second. Champions League Group 4 pot is wild, isn't it? There's going to be some wild trips away. And I think Bodo might actually be in pot 2 somehow. So we're not in pot 2. We're behind Helga. And I found out last night that if we're going to Paphos, then I'm going to go and pick up my Maria or Christina. Going to come home with a souvlaki and a fiery girl, hopefully. Anyway, Sean, have you the second half of this? I heard his brother. Everyone that's right is far better. I don't know what that part means, mate. I can't make it out. Let me know in the chat. I'll come back to it in a second. But appreciate you, mate. Love to Bugsy. Yeah, Bugsy just barked, by the way. She heard me say Bugsy. She knows. She says, big up to you. Blaine Devlin, big up to you, my man. Big up to you, buddy. What's crack-a-lacking? Starting the Spurs Talk Show GoFundMe campaign to get Sean to Cyprus. Just said this. From his Maria meetup. Big up, Sean, and chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Big up to you, Blaine. Big up to you, my man. It's good to see you, buddy. It's good to see you. Thank you very much for the super chat, mate. Yeah, listen, if I can get a ticket to Paphos, I'm going to go to Cyprus, and I'm not coming home. I'm going to swing by Ayia Napa, do some late summer or early winter, whatever, partying. I was in Ayia Napa when I was 17 years old, I was a holiday rep in Ayia Napa when I was 17. The summer of 2000, I was 16, summer of 2000. And I was a rep. I lied about my age. It was brilliant time. Brilliant time. Caught an STD on my last day. A mild STD. But I miss her so much. Anyway, Brandon Ritchie says, commend you all for these shows. Tiring stuff. I hope the shows aren't tiring. I hope the shows are okay. Appreciate you, Brandon. I've got rid itchy nose again. What's going on with my nose? Appreciate you, Brandon. Thank you very much, my man. Appreciate you. Connor wants to come on. So I'm going to let him have it. I'm going to let him have it. See what he says. StreamYard. Bear with me 1 second, people. We've got to talk a little bit about these players as well. But I think he's Connor's going to come on and try and represent represent some bollocks anyway. We love Connor. Criminals FC says Aussie Frank. Thank you very much for the super chats, guys. Very cool of you all. Have I got them all? I haven't got them all. Sorry. Ulrika come back in. Qatar isn't buying club with militant supporters. That's an issue. That is an issue. Also, though, let's not forget we have an example of an owner in the Premier League that has ridiculous sums of money, and they haven't got the draw either. You know, they haven't managed to convince anybody to sell them any of their players. There's more to the game, guys. There's more to the game than just Daniel Levy being a bozo. It's reality. You have to kind of appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on every day. It's like, I don't know what's going on with it. It's not like, you know, anything up there. It's just STDs are fine, Sean. It's like pass the parcel. Once you pass it, it's basically gone. Don't worry. Yeah, exactly. Apparently it's the opposite of COVID. Oh, how we were all swindled on the COVID story, eh? I've never felt the same since I had that second jab. Never. Yeah, ever. Anyway, yes, Newcastle is a prime example. Yeah, Newcastle is a prime example, Cantab. 100%. Everyone making out like if only we had ambitious owners, everything would be okay. Would it? Has it proven to be at Newcastle? I think they're in the biggest meltdown mode in the game. And now people are going to come in and say, you're defending Levy again. First of all, that's not a defense of Levy. That's just an observation of something else. Second of all, it's like people think that it's settled science. Like, sorry, there is no argument to say that Daniel Levy is anything other than an absolutely terrible chairman. It's been that way for 25 years. Well, no. that's not how life works, and that's not how I feel, and many others. If it wasn't the case, 15 people would have been more like 15,000. Fun fact, cold sore is Herbie. Do you know what, Francis? I actually avoided. I've never had that. Pure blood. Scott Spurs are pure blood. Good man. Put that on your dating profile, pal. Get them girls going. I want them swimmers. Yeah, a lot of people didn't have the first one. I was conned into it because I was told if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to. Because at the time I was doing my other work, right? This was pre-YouTube, so I was traveling the world a lot for work, and I was told you can't go unless you have your thing. Lee's in the house. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It costs nothing, but it goes a long way. Thank you for continued support. What's happening, Lee? Do you fancy coming on, mate? Let me know, and I'll put the link out. Or I'll find a way to get it to you. I don't have your number, but I always enjoy listening to you. Let me know, buddy. STD has entered the chat. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about this guy, Adrien Rabiot, right? So, I mean, I don't believe for a second, not for a second, that we would sign him because it's just he's not really a Tottenham sort of player, but he's a very, very good player. His passing is ridiculous. He's a very good passer. He's playing in Marseille. He's been over in Juve. Is it Juve or is it AC Milan? Where was he in Italy? I think it was at Juve. He's a brilliant player, but he's just a terrible recipient of bad energy from maternal instincts. Hi there, Connor. How are you?
Hello, I'm all right. How are you?
You're wearing a hat every day now, mate. You're getting sucked into the YouTube lifestyle.
I can't be asked to do my hair. Look, it's a mess. Look, just easier to do this, mate. Cover it up.
You got the widow's peak, though. I like it, mate. I like it. It shows experience, shows maturity, shows that you've been up at you've been hanging around kitchens at 5 o'clock in the morning a few too many times in your past.
That's it, mate.
What's going on, Connor? What's going on, buddy? How are you feeling today? Are you excited about the last 5 days?
We've got a lot to do, mate. Is it 5 days still? I don't know whether it's 5
day,
4.
We got 7 hours today, 6 hours. Then we got 30 hours. Oh, I'm not gonna do it that way. 24, 48, 72, 96. Next one is 120.
Yeah.
And then 126 hours and 13 minutes. How about that?
There we go. We got a fair amount to do in that time, mate, haven't we?
How many are we going to get done?
I think we will sign a player. One.
Who's the player?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. Look, I'd like. I saw you talking about Paqueta and Lookman. So I think Paqueta is a difficult deal to do because of West Ham, right? And I mean, their fans
is it that
already.
Difficult though, mate? Just quickly, is it that? I've fallen in love with Dan E over the last week. Every time he's been on my channel, every time I've heard him, I think Dan E talks absolute real life sense. Like he's not afraid about pissing people off with different opinions. He's not afraid to have like his own take on things. I think he's been spot the fuck on with his balanced takes. But when he says things like "there's always a price," there is always a price. He's absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Paqueta's a difficult deal because it's West Ham, because they're in meltdown, because they're Tottenham thing. I get it. But if you were to go and put 100 million quid in front of West Ham right now, I'm not saying we should, but if you were to put that sort of money down, West Ham are going to take it, right? Like if you were to put 200 million pound down for Isak right now and then pay him whatever money, there's always a price. Tottenham could, if they wanted to, go and buy anyone they want, right? Within that kind of argument, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And look, and to be honest, look, I'm not sure how much, without getting onto ownerships, I'm not sure how much the ownership of West Ham cares that much either, to be honest. I think, we have complaints about theirs. They absolutely have complaints about theirs as well, don't they? I mean, with there's a number of things. So, it wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't be, but they will be asking for the meltdown of all meltdowns, I think, from their fans. Were they to sell us Kudus and Paqueta in the same window. I don't think it would be the first. I think there's been a window before they sold us 2 players in the same window, isn't there? Was Defoe and Canute maybe in the same window?
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, look, I think it's getting to that stage now where we desperately need to obviously make attacking signings. I think those two. What are you saying? Paqueta 60 million? You'd get him, wouldn't you?
Whatever you want, whatever you were willing to pay on Morgan Gibbs White, you pay for Paqueta. Just go
Yeah, I
offer
think
that
60
money
million gets him.
and do it. Do it. Do
Yeah,
it.
well,
He's
look,
he's
I
such
think
a good player. He's such a good player.
for me, I think as well, I think it's a bit like the Kudus one, right? Where people were judging him on last season when he's had all of that gambling stuff hanging over him. Obviously, City were willing to spend 80 million plus on him only 18 months ago. So he's clearly a top player. The age thing might be impacting the valuation. We've spoken about it before. That makes people think he's a bit toppy. For me, I don't care. Because I think if you get
how much,
you get
how much
5 years
value,
out of him, you get 5 years out of him, don't you? Do you know what I mean? It's sort of
how much value have we already seen in the experience in Polina? Right?
precisely.
And Polina is what, 30, 31 soon?
30, yeah.
Paqueta, this argument, you only go after 20, 21, 22-year-olds because no one wants to buy a 28-year-old. Okay, if that's true, then by the time that you bought a 23-year-old,
You won't be
and they
able to sell
become
them
28,
anyway.
no, you won't be able to sell them anyway. And on top of that, Tottenham don't sell players. So stop worrying about the sell-on value to someone else in the future and start valuing about the buy-in value to you now.
Well, no, the way I always think, you sign him for 60 million, right? You're going to get 5 years out of him. The amortization cost for you is 12 million a year. He's worth 12 million a year to you, isn't he? In the grand scheme of the rest of our financials, and the fact that a league position gets you 3 or 4 million now before you even get into the extra money for Europe, the extra money for, as a result of then getting in Europe, the extra commercial revenue that you can then pull in. He's absolutely worth that to you as long as he plays well. So I don't buy into this stuff around the age stuff too much. I think the other thing is we've got other players that fulfil that point for us anyway, right? We've got Berghvall, for example, who only cost us 8 million.
Yeah.
If we sell him in 5 years' time, he's going to go for a lot more than 8 million. There's other examples of players like that. So that's where you need to get that balance. I mean, for Paqueta and Lookman, you're talking what, 100, 110 million to get them both in, and suddenly you're in a vastly different place to where we are right now, in terms of those attacking positions. Plus the fact that once Kulusevski comes back, once Maddison comes back, if he ever does, I'm not sure he will. Paqueta can also play in the 8 as well, right? So he's got some versatility. So yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely happy with that.
He's also a better fit, mate. Than he's not a game changer in terms of output like an Eze is, but Eze gets most of his joy, or had most of his joy, off the left. Right? We were looking for a 10. You need a passer. Paqueta is one of the best 10s in the game at passing the ball. His vision is like up there with the best in the game. Like he's far too good for West Ham. Far too good. Sure. That goal he scored last night as well was spectacular. The goal he scored, was it in the first game of the season or the second game against Chelsea? Absolutely insane as well. Right, the guy he's so levels above. There's evidence of him wearing a Tottenham shirt when he was a kid. He wants to come, apparently. The only thing that's stopping the deal is the fallout of West Ham fans. And you can soothe that by saying, we'll give you 60 million and we'll let you have Manos Solomon if you want. Whatever else, something like that. Like Manos Solomon might do really well at West Ham.
Yeah. I mean, there's, to be fair to Solomon, he's Premier League standard. He's not our standard where we want to be, but he can certainly play for a lower Premier. Yeah, for sure. I think the problem for them, they probably, I suspect if we go back in for him, it's going to be one of those where they need to line up a replacement and we get ourselves back into that world, right? Of waiting for the dominoes to fall in the right way, because I think, if they let him go without a replacement, I mean, I think they're bang in trouble anyway, even if he stays. I think they're in that mix of probably 5 or 6 teams with the 3 that come up, then Wolves, Brentford, to be honest, I thought were in it, although they surprised me because obviously they'd be Villa. So they're in the mix for that anyway.
Do you think Paqueta would go somewhere better if Paqueta became available in the last couple of days? If there was if he put in some sort of transfer request, if he, he asked to leave officially, if there was a story out saying Paqueta wants to go, do you think that Man City will take him?
No,
no,
I could, because I think they're happy with Shirky being in that option for them in the 10. They've also got other players who can fill in there as well, right? You've got Foden fill in there. They can play Marmoush as a second striker. I can't see it personally with City. I don't think they're. I think we are. I think we're the best possible team that could go in for Paqueta right now.
Sorry, mate.
Have I lost you?
There we go. Yeah, no, I'm back. Sorry, mate. Sorry. It's bloody internet, mate. It's bloody internet. The worms in my Wi-Fi, they're still there. Let me ask you this, mate. What would do you think that West Ham would just is there any chance that West Ham, because I agree with what Dan is saying, and he says that everyone's got a price. Is there any chance that West Ham would go, look, I'll accept 60 million for him, but it can't be Tottenham? And even not disrespectful to Tottenham, but just if Sullivan went, look, I would, Daniel, I would, mate, but it's Tottenham, and the fan base are just going to murder it. They're gonna go into fucking meltdown if we do it. So I can't sell them to you as much as I would like to accept the price. I'm sorry, but now's not the time. Maybe in January, something like that, where you've got time to replace.
Maybe. I think that all depends on how much the player himself pushes it, right, and what other options are on the table. I think the problem is we're running out of time, right? So I think those conversations take time if they're going to then happen or translate, and then it's difficult for that to happen. I mean, it's funny you should say that about that, because that's one thing I'll give Levy some credit for through gritted teeth. That when he sold Bow, he could have sold Bow to Man United, and he sold him to Real Madrid, right? They were in for him at one stage, and similarly with Modric, I think Chelsea offered more money than Real Madrid did, right? So if Sullivan takes a similar stand, and it might not, if he gets an offer of 50 million from abroad, say, he might think, do you know what? I've already got the 55 million in for Kudus. I can't sell another player to Tottenham, even if they offer more money and therefore it makes more sense. Someone's wrote, "Stop the press. Connor has praised Levy." For what it's worth, I do. I've given him credit for a couple of things.
See, Connor and I can have reasonable discourse about Daniel Levy, because Connor's willing to meet in the middle and say there's praise where it's due here, but criticism there. And I actually, in those environments, I'm also more than happy to meet Connor in the middle and tell him that he's a muppet, and that's absolutely fine. I'm kidding. I'll meet him in the middle and say 100% Daniel Levy's completely screwed up. And this window, like the input factors, the variables don't matter. The reality is we're 5 days out and we've got 2 players, and they're good players. They're needle movers. But imagine how good we could be if we got, 3 or 4. Question to you, mate, is not just with regards to Paqueta. I think I just landed on a little bit of a thought experiment in my mind here, with regards people like Brent with Morgan Rogers as well, right? I'm not saying we can get him, but how much Coutinho went last day of the window, didn't he, for Liverpool, and they got like 130 million or whatever it was for him, and they went without replacing him until January, and in the January they got Alisson, in the January they got Virgil van Dijk. I think that's right, or was it Virgil van Dijk the next summer? I forget, but either way, it was one of them was January. Either both of them were January, or one of them was Jan. The next one
was definitely January, wasn't he? Yeah.
So this notion that you can't do deadline day deals for big players because there's no time for the other side to replace. You are only 3 months away until the next window, and so it's not like deadline day deals are only reserved for teams that have got all of their ducks aligned. there's a lot of deadline. There's a lot of historical transfers that happen where deadline day deals don't necessarily mean that the club who's selling get the chance to replace. And some of them obviously are based because they've already got someone come in and they're trying to get rid of the player, whatever. But it's not always the case. And you've only got 3 months to wait until the next window, and you can get that deal done January the 1st, right? So is there any chance that Tottenham will get a deadline day deal for a monster player, for a big player? Because this argument that there's not going to happen because there's no time for the other team to find a replacement. If you pay them enough money, they'll weather the storm for 3 months and then go in January, right?
Yeah, it's a really Berbatov's a good example, right? For us, when we ended up with that dragged out, didn't it, over the whole summer? We ended up selling him to United on deadline day, and we got Fraser Campbell in return. So we were given a replacement, but it wasn't really a replacement. I think there's a few points. I think one is that football finance is in a different place than it was over the last few years. Not that Liverpool necessarily needed the money, but with other examples, I think the financials are just too good to decline, right, for clubs, and therefore they're willing to accept it. I think players pushing and threatening going on strike and those types of things are the types of things that can make those types of deals happen. And Berbatov is an example of that for us, right? Whereby, he ended up going on strike just before we finally sold him. And so, and Morgan Rogers, for example, is he going to go on strike? Those examples we're talking about, these are Coutinho going to Barcelona, huge dream move for him. Berbatov going to Man United, the biggest club in the country at the time.
Yep.
Is Morgan Rogers going to force the issue, to use him as an example, to move from Aston Villa to Spurs when he's only 20? How old is he? Early 20s. He knows he's got a big move in his career at some point. I'm just not sure they're going to push the dial enough in this day and age. But it's an interesting thought experiment.
How about this? Let's have a look at the other stories out. Let me get rid of that media overhang. 1 sec. So this is, forgive me, Meshina Joe. Love you, mate. Love you, Joe. Hope you're okay, buddy. Let's have a quick look-see at the most expensive deadline day transfers in the Premier League history. When was this made? Patrick Emerick Aubameyang from Dortmund to Arsenal for 63 million euros.
Yeah.
Oh, I get to the next one.
It's not one of those, is it? I think you got to press the arrow.
Oh, here we go. Fernando Torres from this must be old. Is it old? Fernando Torres, 58 million from Liverpool to Chelsea. Deadline day, massive. Andy Carroll. Now this must be old. Hang on. How old is that? How long ago was that made?
That was at the same time, was it, that Carroll and Torres one? Did Torres go to Chelsea? Remember?
So this is from 3rd of Feb 2025. Okay. So is it easier? Here we go. Bang. Beautiful. Everton to Man United happened on deadline day. Luis Suarez from Ajax to Liverpool happened on deadline day. Claude Makelele, Ashley Cole, Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer's an interesting one. That was 60 million quid, wasn't it? Hugo Lloris.
I think 40-ish, I think. But, yeah.
What's that?
I think Palmer was 40-ish, but yeah.
Was he?
I think it was,
fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Carlos Tevez and Javier Mascherano. Corinthians to West Ham. That was a big deal, wasn't it? They were fantastic, those players. Mikel Arteta, Ozil, Dimitar Berbatov, Robbie Keane, Pierre Aubameyang, Dele Alli, Lucas Moura, Rafael van der Vaart. Look at Tottenham. We like a deadline day deal, mate. We like a deadline day deal. We're getting something. We're getting something on Monday. Hold your horses. Sturridge, Fellaini, Ronaldo, even Ronaldo. Well,
how many of them have been last 3 years, though?
Yeah, none. None of them.
Palmer.
The most recent is Ronaldo in 2021. It doesn't happen that much. Yeah, you're right.
Palmer was more recent, but yeah, it doesn't happen as much now, does it?
Yeah, Cole Palmer, 2023. Yeah, so, I mean, look, it does happen, though. It does happen. And I think you just have to hope that we're going to do it and then hope that you can convince them. You pay them enough money and they go, well, we can survive 3 months and it's not going to completely destroy our transfer, our status in the league or our ambitions for the year. but that we can't turn that money down and we can go again in January. You know,
I think that's where you're going to have to be honest with yourself about the way that you go and approach doing these deals, though, and realise that if you do go this late because of the fact you can't source a replacement, you're going to have to potentially overpay, aren't you? And unfortunately, I don't think that's something that necessarily is the way that we look to operate, right? Where actually we're more on the side of trying to make the deal as palatable as possible for ourselves rather than the other way around. So I think that's the issue.
FC Bayern Munich, Connor, are about to, they're in club-to-club talks with Chelsea for Nicholas Jackson. Discussions, according to Romano, who's in the mud, discussions about formula of the deal has one international loan spot left. Chelsea has one international loan spot left, and it has to include obligation to buy. Nothing done so far, player club side, but Bayern keep insisting. So Bayern want the player, but they don't want to pay up front. They want it to be a loan with an obligation. Chelsea, if they do it with this one, they can't do it with any others. And Chelsea still need to get the right side of financial fair play for their UEFA transactions. He was supposed to be going to Villa, but Villa was held up because Villa needed to sell Amadou Onana to make it happen. So if Villa can't get, does the Nicholas Jackson? So here's an interesting thought experiment. If Nicholas Jackson ends up going to Bayern Munich, then that frees up Chelsea to maybe be able to go and get a Xavi Simons or a Garnacho, one of those two. But it doesn't help Villa out of the jam that they're in. Does that mean then that the Villa maybe need to move in a different direction? And if so, would they be able to sell? Would they maybe be more or less interested to sell Morgan Rogers in a world where Bayern Munich get hold of Nico Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think with Chelsea need to obviously get Jackson off because he's on that list of players that they need to get players out of if they want to make any new registrations with the settlement they do with UEFA. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he's going on. I mean, I would think if you're Villa, is Morgan Rogers the last player you want to have to sell? Probably. Given how good he is for one. I mean, I think
did he come through their youth system?
No, he was at City, wasn't he, originally?
It's probably some sell-on fee as well, then, right?
Yeah, probably. And yeah, I mean, he got 18 goal contributions last year in the league, Rogers. I mean, he's just outrageous player. They ended up signing him from Middlesbrough, didn't they? Someone just reminded me. So
he was at Middlesbrough. He was at Middlesbrough before City. He went to City and then went.
No, he went from City as a youth, then went to Middlesbrough, and then Villa bought him from Middlesbrough, and it was single digits they bought him for. So
wow,
it would be a big profit return. But I just can't. I think to be honest, Villa were never in their dire straits, are not as bad as Chelsea's when it comes to the UEFA settlement and how much mud they're in with UEFA potentially. Hence, but obviously Chelsea have got a lot more players to sell. But so maybe Ramsey has got them to a position where they're roughly comfortable.
What
Villa.
is that? Sorry, could you hear that?
No. What's that?
Oh, one of my tabs just opened up and started it was like a page opened up inside the page and started making casino noises like.
I wasn't sure if it was Pornhub or something.
That comes later. I have to get myself a VPN. By the way, get over to nordvpn.com/SpursTalkShow if you're the best deals. If you want to have a wank in private.
Have they sponsored you yet?
They sponsored me last year. I'm not sure they're sponsoring me this year yet. No, but
no.
Interesting. So, do you think? Let's talk a little bit. So let's talk about the Adrien Rabiot deal, mate. Any interest in Adrien Rabiot at all?
No.
Is he too much of a bozo?
I mean, can you imagine replacing Bissouma with? You just replacing one clown with arguably a bigger clown. I mean, he's trouble, isn't he? Wherever he's gone, he also, there's that quote from a couple of years ago where he said that Tottenham weren't on the level or whatever it was. And remember when we were linked with him a few years ago?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
For me, it's absolutely no. I think He's about 30, 31. I mean, if Marseille are getting rid of you because you're too much of a prick, with what you've got going at Marseille at the moment with Deserbi and others, you just think, yeah, it's
There's a lot of dickheads in Marseille, isn't there? Let's be honest.
for
With the
sure, for
manager
sure.
to half the squad. I mean, the squad have all
The
like been
place, yeah,
the
yeah,
place is trouble as well. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I
The,
can't see it.
the only time I've ever been frightened. The only time I've ever been frightened was going to a Marseille game. Like walking around that city after dark, trying to get back to the hotel was it was scary, really scary, to be honest. Like, I didn't feel safe at all.
No,
I wouldn't be
I
going
didn't
back.
go when Spurs played them, but I heard that from a lot of people that it's not the one. That and Napoli away are not the away games you want to get. I don't think.
Yeah, 100%. Mate, what do you think about this? Let's get this. Let's talk about this. Let's get this. I think this is a little bit out of date, but we can still work on it here. So Club Brugge. So all of these teams were sort of cemented. Bodo have now got the green tick. Bruges have got the green tick. I think they've got the Crvena Zvezda. I think they got the green tick. We don't know about Copenhagen are playing tonight against Rangers. Celtic are out, replaced by that Kazakhstan team.
Kazakhstan mob, yeah.
And who did Paphos beat? Paphos beat. It happened last night, didn't it? Paphos FC.
Yeah.
Paphos FC beat. Krevna Zvezda, whatever that team is.
Oh, okay.
Is it Steaua Bucharest? I'm not sure which one. Whichever one it is. So they're out, and Paphos is in. So that's a Group 4 thing. Celtic are out, and the Kazakhstan team are in, and then Union St. Gilloise and Copenhagen's games are finished, are sorted out tonight. So it's basically there's no movement, right? So we're still in pot 3. How do you feel, mate, about the about the Champions League draw tomorrow?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a lot of chat, right, about the fact that we need to be Champions League ready, which obviously is relevant just because of the build-up of games, and actually, we've spoken about the fact the squad needs a lot of work in terms of almost just filling the squad. But actually, when you look through this group of teams, right, you take out pot 1. The fact I'm pretty sure we can't. Someone will confirm, but I'm pretty sure we can't draw English teams, right? So
Yeah.
that takes Arsenal out of pot 2, who are the best team in pot 2, and Newcastle out of pot 4, who are the best team in pot 4.
Yeah.
And you look through the rest, and you go, is there anyone you're particularly scared of on our day?
And even if you include pot 1, even if you go and get a Savio, even if you go and get a Lookman, even if you go and get
anyway, yeah, for sure.
Exactly right. So our squad is good enough, in my opinion, to beat all the teams in pot 4, home and away, in an ideal world. I think of the in pot 3. So I think you don't want to get Marseille away from home. I don't mind getting Bodo. I don't mind getting Slavia Prague. I don't really want Olympiacos because it's just a long journey and stuff. Sporting's fairly difficult. Napoli will be difficult. Ajax we can beat. PSV, I think we've got we're better on. And so, but there's like even if you were to maximize your squad now and go and get those players in, I still think that you have the ability. I don't think it materially changes anything. I think like all of the teams in pot 3, we should be able to handle if we play well with our current squad. And there's only a couple of teams in there that I think is a really close match. Pot 2, not a dissimilar sort of vibe, right? Pot 1, even if you go and get those players we're linked with, I still don't think you're going to beat them. If you think we're not going to be able to beat those teams anyway, we wouldn't be able to beat them with a Paqueta necessarily, right? So I feel like our squad is capable of qualifying out of this group, out of this league, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it goes without saying it would give us a better chance of getting a result against those teams, but not necessarily to your point. And it gives you, it reduces the risk of injuries playing a big part and us going into any of these games with teams that are not ready. If we make more signings, so this is by no means excusing the lack of business that we've done, but I absolutely agree. I mean, if we can't finish top 24, I think there's a much bigger issue.
What's your dream? What's your dream? Your dream 8, or your dreams? Yeah, 8 teams that you play.
So out of pot one, I think you want Dortmund and Inter.
Yep.
Because I think Inter are not the Inter they were. I think they're on the decline. They're aging, and then I think Dortmund are the next weakest.
Yep.
Pot two, I think you want Frankfurt because we've already proven we can
And
beat
Bruges.
them. Bruges probably. Villarreal aren't very good either. Benfica
Yep.
are okay. Yeah, I think there's, and even like Leverkusen aren't
No, I
Leverkusen
take
that they
Leverkusen
were.
all day long. Take Leverkusen. The
With
Leverkusen
Ten
have been
Hag.
absolutely ransacked this summer, so I take them
To
all
be
day
honest, as
long.
I said, in that pot too, Atletico Madrid you probably want to avoid, right? But then other than that, I think a lot of them, and even the bigger names there are names rather, even Juventus aren't what Juventus were, right?
Yep.
Pot three, I think, to your point, I think you want to avoid Napoli and Marseille away.
Yeah.
Sporting is okay-ish now, I think. Any of the
Yep.
others are okay-ish. And then pot four, I think you want to avoid Galatasaray because you just can't be asked with a journey.
Yep.
You want to avoid that Kazakhstan team away. If we get them at home, great.
Yep. Yeah.
Again,
Exactly.
that one comes more about logistics rather than quality. So as I say, I mean, yeah, I don't think there is. I think there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to finish in that. I think finishing top 8 would be a struggle
Will it?
for sure. I
Will
think
it?
I don't think it's impossible because Villa finished top 8, didn't they
Yeah. Villa
last time
finished
round? Right?
fourth, I think.
Yeah, obviously you need to probably get a bit of a surprise result. They beat Bayern Munich at home. No one would have probably predicted that. That helped them get there. There'll be surprises though, right? I mean, Man City, Real Madrid, PSG didn't finish top 8 last year, so I think I think there'll be some surprises.
Yeah, Benfica aren't through yet, are they? It's a good point. Good point. It's amazing, isn't it? Benfica are one of the
They're playing
highest ranked.
Fenerbahce, are they?
Yeah, what's that? Benfica. So look, Benfica against Fenerbahce tonight at 8 p.m. and it's 0-0 from the first leg. Interesting. Yeah, you know what? I'd probably rather get Benfica than Fenerbahce, to be honest.
Yeah, so would I. Definitely.
You know,
Particularly away because of the same. Talking about Dortmund, apparently they've reached agreement now with Wolves. Ornstein's just tweeted to sign Fabio Silva, who is shit. I don't know, but he's and apparently the deal was 26 million euros, which seems a lot of money for him.
yeah.
But yeah.
I'll tell you what, Bournemouth. There's a guy played really well last night in that game. Bueno. They've got so many. Like, they always have this like Spanish Portuguese like thoroughfare, don't they? At Wolves, it's like the European, like the southern European kind of contingent always goes through Wolves at some point, and they always do fairly well. Always do very well there. So be very interesting, mate. I want to ask you a question. And then I want to come. I'm just going to run out. I want you to entertain the chat for 10 seconds if you can, because I've just got to run. I'm busting for a wee, but it's a quick wee. My question to you is this, man: Kang Lee in or Kang Lee out? I'll be back in 2 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, I think. Look, my view on Kang Lee in or Lee Kang in. For me, I would definitely be interested in that. I think I think he'll be accused of being a club commercial signing to replace Son. But for me, I think it would be a good signing. I think he's only 24. I think we're at the stage now where any signing, to be honest, is going to satisfy the fans somewhat. But yeah, I would absolutely sign him. What have we got in the chat here? Any questions in the chat? Come on, give me some questions while Sean isn't here. They can be about Sean if you want. Isco on loan, probably not. I'd rather have Asensio on loan if we were gonna have them. Connor, will I get to say hi to the brains behind Levynomics at the protest this weekend? Unfortunately, I'm not actually at the game. So although I was
Why not?
one of the, I had to sell my tickets. My wife has And my wife is out, so I've got the 2 kids this weekend. So I've already sold my ticket. So I was one of the 20 at the original protest, but I won't be at this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can no longer claim that I've been to every Change for Tottenham protest because I didn't make it because Johnny took me to the premium. Premium. Protest. It's not really a debate, is it?
No, it isn't. No.
What would you answer on?
But
What would
yeah,
you
it'll be
answer on
interesting to see
Would
what the
you take
numbers are.
Buchanan, would you?
Yeah, I would. I said I would. I think I think he'll be accused of being he'll be accused of being a club commercial signing, won't he? If we do sign him, because that's what people do. But yeah, I would take him. But there's other options I prefer. I have to be honest that if it's a choice between him and Paqueta and a Lookman, I would rather have a Paqueta and a Lookman personally.
What do you think is going on with this Lookman thing? So, like, you got Spurs Journal that came out saying Tottenham are now very much closely monitoring all these ITKs that are like, they're doing their thing. Fair play to them. Content's got a content, but is that going to be one of those last minute deals? We're kind of, if there's any interest at all, but I just feel like there'd have been closer links to it if it was going to happen, rather than just coming from a random ITK kind of thing. I would expect it to be more from like you'd hear more about it than we're hearing, rather than just spurious links. Same with Paqueta. Or do you think that Tottenham are like trying to shut down every story now because they're aware of this, Twitter zeitgeist and the meltdown? As soon as a name pops up, whether it's true or not, doesn't matter anymore. As soon as the name pops up, there's the expectation, and if it doesn't happen, then meltdown.
Yeah, I think there's probably a bit of that. Paolini was a bit like that, right? Do you remember? There weren't any real concrete links with Paolini, was there? Other than people like me and you talking on streams like this.
The fan base were driving that
be a good
narrative
signing.
rather than
Yeah, and then suddenly, but Lookman, I mean, for me, and I'm surprised at how split the fan base is on Lookman personally, because my view of him, I mean, he's had 3 seasons of sort of 20 plus goal contributions in the league every year. Scores a hat trick in a final. Last year he scored, I think, 5 goals in the Champions League in 7 games. When you're talking about the fact that people worry about our forwards output and you've lost some from that. For me, if you want a goal scoring wide forward, Lookman's right up there. Obviously, the benefit is he's homegrown as well. And, Atlanta's the type of club that is willing to do deals because that's their model. They're the Brighton of Italy, effectively. It feels like a no-brainer.
Let me ask the chat, guys. I'm sorry, Colin. I'll come back to your answer in a second. Chat, ones and zeros, right? Ones if you want Lookman, zeros if you don't. But if you don't, can you please put a little reason why? Is it because you think he failed in the Prem? Is it because you just don't rate him? Is it because you think he's a donut? What is the if you're putting a 0, let me know. The ones are all flying in. Love that. Love all the ones. Well done, chat. You're right. But let me know. Let me know for those of you that have got a 0. There's no 0 so far. ABQC6GT. That's an imaginative YouTube handle. AB. You're saying 0 because he doesn't want Spurs. Okay. It's all ones though. It's all ones. What's the argument, Connor, for you why he doesn't want to come, or why we should, if there is one?
I think people make the argument. I think we can ignore the one he don't want Spurs because we don't know that, and if that's the case, then that's out of our control anyway, right? This is more a question of whether we want him at this stage, right? So, I think people's main concern is around what he did in the Prem, which I would challenge with. Well, look, that was a number of years ago now. He's had 3 years of doing very well. Albeit in Italy, but Italy's not a particularly easy league to get a lot of goal contributions in because the defences are good typically. But and even when you look through his stats actually in the league, when he was at Fulham, he got 8 goal contributions in the league in a pretty average team. Leicester, he got 6 in 26. It's like okay-ish, it's not terrible. And obviously he's taken that to another level, and he's got proven. For me, the counter to proven Prem experience, well, he's got proven Champions League experience, and proven European experience in Europa at the highest level. So for me, I'd absolutely take him. The one concern with him a little bit is AFCON. You're going to lose him for that. But I don't know whether 1 year's AFCON is a reason why you say you don't want to sign a player.
How often the AFCON's every 2 years though, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a bit of a pain.
But
Yeah.
is it 2 or 4? I don't know. But yeah, even still, do we sell
AFCON
Sarr
is
because he's
every
got that?
2 years. Every 2 years.
Yeah.
That is a problem. That's a fair concern.
Well, that's why you got to have other options then, haven't you? That's why I would make the argument, even if Savio was possible, which it doesn't look like it is going to happen, but if it was, as long as they do sign Lookman anyway, just to have.
No, I 100%. I mean, I 100% subscribe to that. Go and get Savio. Go and get Lookman. Go and get Paqueta. We're good. We're good at the top end of the pitch. We still then have massive issues if we lose Polinia. Massive issues, which is where I'm going to take you next. I'll come back to Savio in a minute. Look, I think most people from the judging there, like 90% of people in the chat here are ones on Lookman. There's a few people saying they don't think he's better than John. Shut up. Zeros for Johnson. Zero's not better than Johnson. Bad attitude. Not sure he's not a donut, etc. But most people are on board it, and I would absolutely. I think he's homegrown. He is that he's not a carbon copy, but he's not a clone of Kudus, but he does have that physicality now. He never had it when he was in the Premier League before. When he was in the Premier League before, he was just like a skinny guy, right? That was fast and tricky. But he's gone to Italy and he's bulked up massively, and so yeah. Sorry about Bugsy. She's having a moan. But let me ask you about the kind of conundrum with selling Bissouma, mate, and also with Vuskovic. So Vuskovic is likely to move to Hamburg, and Bissouma's about to move to Turkey. Are we dicing with death, aren't we? Like if we have to be confident at this stage in the window, we have to be confident that we have players coming in for us to let Bissouma go and Vuskovic go on loan when we have no real backup at the back, because Takai's out injured for a long time and we don't even know what level he is. So that's a problem. Ben Davies and Danzo are the only people that can come in. And if you do play a back three, then you've got one option in Danzo. Sorry, you've got one option in Ben Davies, who no one. I mean, I rate Ben Davies, always have, but no one else really does to that same level. And Bissouma's going as well. Like, we are leaving ourselves violently short at the back. If the intention is to get the 10 and the left wing done, why are we letting these guys go, Connor? Is there like is there 4D chess happening at Tottenham, and that they know that they're getting these some old people in, and they're just not happening yet, or are we being like incredibly risky by doing that?
I think it's a bit of both. I think with Bissouma, I think it's absolutely the right thing that Bissouma goes now. And I think that can be independent of the view that separately we need to make sure we're thick enough in the squad. But I think Bissouma has to go. I think, he has just been and this is someone, when we signed Bissouma, I was buzzing. I thought, wow, that's a great signing. And if you remember it came out of nowhere as well. It was like, it was some journalist for the Times just said, "Oh, Tottenham are signing Bissouma," and then it was done literally the following day. But he's got to go for me, and but I get the concern. I do think the Paolini thing is not as big an issue as people are thinking it is when he's out. And let me just play, because I think it would have been in an Ange system. I think if in the games that Paolini can't play, I think Frank will just play Bentancur and Sarr as a double pivot, or perhaps bring Gray in if it's a much weaker opposition. But I think that will help, and I don't think we'll be as exposed as we otherwise would be. That being said, you would hope if they are selling Bissouma, there is some sort of replacement coming in. With Vuskovic, it's about playing football, isn't it? I think it's about I think they want to get him as many minutes as possible. But again, I do agree. I mean,
He'll play minutes at Tottenham, mate.
yeah, but not as it's not the same as playing every week, is it? You know, I think he is. I
But
think
what are you going to do? What happens if Ben Dave we've got no backup in a team that wants to play a back five at times. Like you're going to want to play a back five at times. If you lose Kudus, you have no outlet. If you lose Kudus, you have no outlet. If you lose Polina, you have no enforcer. And if you lose one of Van der Ven and Romero, and history says that you absolutely will. If they're gambling, Connor, on this notion that, well, you know, the majority of these long-term injuries that we had last year were because of like the way that we played and the way that we trained, then you're invoking some like logic that is based, it's bollocks. Like because we're not training that way, we're not going to have injuries. Every other team in the Premier League has injuries. You're playing a contact sport, right?
Yeah.
So it's mental to sit there and think that Vuskovic should go to get minutes when, if they don't think he's good enough yet, then fair enough. But then you absolutely have to bring someone in. You absolutely have to. And you've got 5 days left. And Ali Gold has said that the priority is here and here, not nowhere from the attacking midfielder back.
Yeah. I mean,
although he spent all summer saying that we were looking for a centre back, and now we're suddenly not interested in Hincapie. You know?
I mean, but that's the reason why we're so worried about the state of play with the window, right? Because if you ask me what I think we need to thicken out the squad enough, I think you definitely need a left winger, you know, for the starting 11, a proper good left winger. You need at least 110. There's an argument to say you need 2 10s, but at least 110. You need a Bissouma replacement who thickens out the squad, and you need a centre back. And ideally, you want a centre back that can play full back as well, which is why Hincapie would have been perfect.
The problem with that versatile thing, as I said, I don't really have much in common with the way that Lee Gunner goes about his thought processes. And no disrespect to him, he's a fantastic content creator, so I respect his game. I just don't look at football the way he does. But he did bring to my attention a wonderful point when he was talking about. There was an Arsenal fan on I think it was Lee Potts' channel, Dan Potts' channel, that was saying, "Look, we've got. Let me explain to you why we're fine." And he was going through the A team and the B team of Arsenal, and he was invoking this notion. He was using this like versatile position. He was saying at right back we can put this player in who can also play here, and then here and here and here and here and here and all this stuff. And he did it several times. And Lee Gunn went, "Yeah, that's great, but what happens if the versatility player goes down injured?" If that player goes, if someone else gets injured that's a specific player, then that guy can jump in, great. But what happens if that guy gets injured? Then you suddenly lose the option here, here, and here. And if 2 of those versatile players go down, then you have nothing to come in and cut. So Bissouma's hijacking the stream again. But like, he makes a brilliant point. I've never thought of it that way. Like, versatility is a blessing and a curse in that if you rely on versatility to like pad your squad and the versatile players go down injured, then you're screwed. If Jed Spence gets injured, and then you get another injury to Porro or to Udogie, then we're fucked. If Porro goes down injured or Udogie goes down injured, you're okay. But if Jed Spence goes down injured, you're fucked. And if the same thing with this centre back idea, go and get a centre back that can also play. Go and get a Lukumi. I know Leone's gone. Go and get in fact, Connie De Winter's gone as well. All these players that we were looking at all summer, apparently, that are versatile players. Let's say you went and got a Gerstruida from RB Leipzig. Let's say you went and got him, right? Brilliant player, right back, right-sided centre back, a 6, and can even play as a left back as well if you wanted to, right? Brilliant player, incredibly versatile. You bring him in and you think, oh, that's it, we're good now, we're covered in all those positions. You're not if he gets injured. And so to me, versatility is like, it's a nice thing, but you can't rely on it.
No, I think it's a fair challenge, and I think that's the reason why in an ideal world you need 2 players for every position, right? Who are of a similar-ish standard. Obviously, the first choice is going to be better. I think that the part of the reason why clubs go down this route of getting these more versatile players is obviously, one, because you get the squad size caps, particularly in Europe, with how big your squad can be, and therefore it's obviously useful to have them. But two, about keeping those players happy. I think it's you got a player who can. Spence is an example, right? You know that we can play Spence at left back, but then also it gives us the opportunity to play Porro. So actually, if Udogie was fit for the whole season, there is a good chance that Spence, Udogie, Porro all play a similar number of games, right? Just because of the rotation. But yeah, no, look, I completely agree. I think it's a big issue if Spence gets injured. But we've got that all across the squad. To your point, I think there is
Stack
I
ranking
mean,
order.
there was one name I wanted to throw at you actually. There was one name I wanted
Go
to,
on then.
which I was chatting to my dad about yesterday, which was when I saw that Palace were linked with Conor Gallagher on loan, right?
Yeah,
Now,
I
I
take
don't
him.
think Gallagher is. I don't think he's an absolute world beater before anyone in the chat goes mad. But as someone that can play 6, 8, or 10, is that not a good option as the Bissouma replacement?
I actually think he's the sort of player that could play anywhere. I think if you asked him to play as a right back, he could do it. If you asked him to, not as a centre back, but if you asked it, I think he can play more than just the midfield. I'd take him in a heartbeat because of where we're at. Generally speaking, I don't want players that didn't want to come to Tottenham before. If you turned us down before, I don't want you in the future necessarily because you have to respect the badge. And our Cockerell is worth appreciating. But I actually think he's a brilliant player. He proved himself in the Premier League. He was fantastic in the 10 at Crystal Palace. He was fantastic in the 8 as Chelsea when he was asked to be. I think he'd be fantastic. I would. I'd love it if he wanted to come to us, but he doesn't want to come to us. His family or whatever bleed blue. And that's fine.
Maybe. I mean, those things change for me. As well. If you go to Gallagher, look, because Atletico Madrid have signed a number of midfielders, haven't they, this summer as well? So his minutes are going to be limited, and then you give him the choice of Palace or us, and he's still playing Champions League. He's going to get ample opportunities. I don't know. I think those sort of things can change. I think when it was a choice between us and Atletico Madrid, maybe that was an easier one to make for him because of the point you mentioned. But I don't know. I think that could potentially change.
Do you? Yeah, I don't mind it, mate. I'd be more than happy. Do you think that there's reason to think it could happen? Because Atletico Madrid. In fact, let's look at Atletico Madrid's transfer window in their squad right now. Let's have a look. Atletico Madrid squad. Okay, so is the screen up? Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. So this is their current squad. Right. Let's look at midfielders. So they've got Pablo Barrios, who's an absolute baller. Conor Gallagher, Johnny Cardoso. They just signed.
Yeah.
Koke he's old as fuck, but he's still useful to them.
He must be about 40 now, wasn't
he? He's 33. 33. Around, yeah, but he still plays. He's their captain, right? So he's still a big part of their squad. Thiago Almada, they've just signed him in the 10 from Botafogo. Brilliant player, but I would have loved him. He was at Lyon on loan. Alex Baena, he's an incredible left winger. He's a monster. Carlos Martin, I don't know who he is. Never heard of him. Giuliano Simeone, very good player. Very good talent. They've just signed Raspadori. Raspadori can play in the 10, can play in the centre forward role, can play off the left. I actually rated him at Napoli, and I said a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I said maybe Tottenham should be looking at him. And then as you move forward, you got Griezmann. So in terms of like, where does Conor Gallagher fit in? Do you think that the rumours that he could leave, is it because they are looking at Pablo Barry? Let me just look at which ones are their transfers from the season. So Bain is brand new. He's brilliant. Came from Villarreal. He's quality. David Hansko, I would have loved him. He was the player we should have got, by the way. We should have got him. He's the left-sided centre back. He's the left winger. I don't know why we didn't. Well, I got no idea why we didn't get him from Feyenoord. He's an absolute baller. Spoke about him for months, or for years. I spoke about him. Johnny Cardoso was supposed to come to us. He's the 6. Raspadori's versatile. Almada's in the 10. So they have brought in And Rodrigo de
And
Paul's
they
come
play
back.
4-4-2 a lot as well. Like I was just looking in their last game, they started Cardoso and Barrios in centre midfield, and they played Alvarez and Sorloth up front in a 4-4-2. Simeone and Almada on the wings. So you can see why his minutes are going to be more limited. The only thing with me, it wouldn't shock me if Atletico were looking to sell him rather than to loan him.
Well, I'd buy
Given
him.
they've
I'd buy him. I think he's a
yeah,
very good
yeah.
player. He's a very good player. This is a guy we should have got. We should have got him before he left. Was he at Bruges? I forget where he was. Arsene
Romero,
Romero.
it
We
rings a
were talking
bell,
about him
yeah.
ages ago. He only spent a year at Madrid at Lessico, and he's now gone and joined Leipzig. They sold
He's only
Riquelme
20 as well.
They sold Rodrigo Riquelme for 8 million to Betis. Fucking hell. They got a great team at Atletico Madrid, haven't they? They've got such a wonderful team. Yeah, listen, I would take him, but I don't know whether the rumours are based. Like, are they saying that he's surplus to requirements, Connor? I don't know. What's the thought process there?
I think it is. That's what it sounds like. But I mean, we're not even linked with him. It's only been Palace that have been linked, and who knows? I think obviously Palace signed Pinho, didn't they, yesterday? Which is a good signing at that price point as well. I think he was on 25 million euros.
Oh, Yami Pino's a quality player. Quality player. Be interesting to see if he steps up because it's the Premier League's a different kettle of fish. But if he absolutely smashes it, I think he could. I think Palace will be okay. So where are we going to go then, John? Connor, mate? Where are we going to go, mate? Are we going to, in the final days? Do you expect the Savio? Let's talk about Savio. I said we were going to speak about Savio. What's going on there, mate? Apparently we spoke after the show apparently the club spoke to them after the game on Saturday. We put in a bid, and then nothing. Haven't heard a thing from them since.
No, and this is where frustration comes, I think, for fans, because surely the thing to do, and look, I think Savio would be great, and it sounds like he's Frank's number one choice, but there comes a point in life where you have to go, we've made an offer, you give them a time and a date by which they have to either accept that offer or reject it, and then you move on, and fans won't like it because then we lose out on the player, but we can't have this sort of situation where you're just being strung along, right, for something that may or may not happen. And now we're, as you said, 127 hours or whatever it was away from the end of the window. And you're in a situation where you might not be able to get another deal done. Whereas if we knew 10 days ago it definitely wasn't happening, there was the potential to move on from it. And this is what then feeds into some of the conspiracies around, are we only going for these players because we're happy to be strung along because we don't want to, which is all unhelpful and not necessarily true, I don't think. But I think I can't see it happening. I think City are playing hardball over it. I think they're not going to get Rodrigo, I wouldn't think, between now and the end of the window, given the size and stature of that sort of signing. So I can't see it happening. If it doesn't happen, again, I do think it comes down to why didn't we move on quicker, and why didn't we set a date and a time to move on quicker?
Yeah, we should have 100%. I think we should have done the this is our best and final. Take it or leave it. Mud, Levy's in the mud. James, I think you're in the mud, aren't you, mate? You've been claiming a hell of a lot of ITK stuff the last couple of days, bro. Yeah, don't think I wasn't paying attention. You've been texting me about them all week. Yeah, James, it's a difficult game to be an ITK, my man. You're stepping into a world that it's ruthless. It's brutal. What, mate? Who are we? If you had to put your money on the line right now, how many 100 quid? How much money? Sorry, how many signings are we going to get? Who are we going to sign? If you're a betting man, and I know you are, because that's the sort of person that I know about you. So, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put money on the line for Tottenham to do anything that impresses me in the last few days, I have to say, without being too negative. I think we'll sign. I think we'll sign one player. I think we'll sign one. I don't know who it will be. I think it will be someone of a decent. I think we'll sign one player where people go, yeah, I'm happy with that signing. I can't see anything else, and that's me trying to be optimistic. There's people commenting none, which I'm enjoying. Yeah, I think there'll be one. I think there'll be one little surprise or one that gets done, and then yeah, I can't see anything more than that. I think they're just running out of time, and I think it's gutting for me because I think it's making me really disappointed about this window, even in a window where I think in Kudus and Paolini we've made two brilliant signings, and we've seen the impact that they can have. And I think with Frank as well, I know you're not a fan of Ange either. Morgan Rogers. You're not a fan of Ange either. I think we can see with Frank what he could be if he was
Yeah,
backed
of course,
properly
100%.
already.
100%.
And that almost in some ways is more disappointing then, isn't it? Because it's like that.
Not giving him what he needs, yeah?
That's it. What about you? How many do you think?
I think there'll be one. And if there's only going to be one, then I think it should be Lookman, not Savio. Because I think if you get Lookman, then he's more versatile and more useful than Savio is. If you can get two, if you can go and get a Paqueta, if you can go and get a I don't know, an Oyen Sunset, for example, from Bilbao, if you can go and get something like that done, and you can bring in the 10 that can pass and can thread, then you can go and get a left winger as well. Then I think Savio would be, because Savio's brilliant and better at certain things. But if you can only get one, then right now I think you go and get a player like Lookman, because he's got the outlet, he's got the output, and he's got the versatility, and he's homegrown. Yes, I understand he's going to be away in January for the African Cup of Nations, but if you can get one at this stage, you need versatility, and you need to replicate kind of some of the value that we're already seeing. But I still maintain, mate, that I think that it's fucking bonkers that we are dealing with outgoings right now when we've only got about 19 people in the squad anyway that are fully fit. And so if you're finalising a deal for Vuskovic and you're finalising a deal for Bissouma, then you are running the gauntlet. You are rolling the dice and dicing with death if you're going to land with just 1 or 0, and you're also letting go of Bissouma. And then you have to sit there and pray to the football gods that the squad that you have stays fit until January. And then that money that you have in January that you could have spent now, we've obviously got a lot of money to spend, that money then can roll into January. But in January, you're going to be paying, you're going to pay a hell of a lot more than you are now anyway, so I don't know, mate. I'm
Who
still
wants
calm.
to sell their best players in January? It comes back, and then we'll have the similar. That's the problem. People will then rationalise it. Well, January's hard to do, and then suddenly you're into next summer again, and it's always that promise of Jan tomorrow. I think. No, I completely get your concern about the outgoings. I independent of the fact of what we need to do ingoing, I don't mind those outgoings because I want Bissouma to go, and I think Vuskovic needs to play every week. But your concern is right, because you can't treat those things independently, obviously.
I just hope they got the fucking stones, mate, to mud everybody, and that they're super confident that in the next 4 days that they're going to bring 2 or 3 players in, and then it justifies letting Vuskovic go. But
it needs to be minimum 3, doesn't it? It does need to be minimum 3.
Say that again.
It needs to be a minimum of 3, right? People, and it's just, I think you've got no faith in that being the case, right?
Yeah. If we sign no one, okay, but then you can't sell Bissouma. Just keep him till January. If you sign no one, then you can't let go of Vuskovic.
No. I think you're frozen again,
Sorry.
Sean.
If you do lose a Romero or a Van de Ven to an injury, then you can't play a back 5 ever again in this, because you'll be playing Ben Davies, and then God forbid something happens to one of those guys, then you literally have to pivot the formation during the game, whether you want to or not, because you don't have any kids. You have got nobody left to bring in. Kota Takai's not back until December. And so if we are legitimately trying to finalise the deal for Vuskovic, and we're trying to finalise the deal for Bissouma, you have to imagine that we're going to bring somebody in on deadline day. But all of that, they probably got it covered, they're confident. Well, they were confident in Gibbs White, they were confident in Eze, and look how that worked out. So I think I'm still calm, because I've lived my life by the by the Serenity Prayer. I don't get upset about things you can't change. Just move on with it. But the reality is that if I wasn't like that, then I'd be shitting myself right now, because I think that we're walking into a very busy window. A very, very busy season with sweet FA in the world of backup options across the park.
Yeah, I agree. Look, and you're calmer than me, and I'm being calmer than I have been on this, because I do think it's farcical that we're in this situation with a few days to go, right? But look, let's see what happens. I think the one saving grace, to be honest, for everything, and it shouldn't be, because football shouldn't be this fickle, that it just depends on what results have been as to how you judge this window or not. I mean, can you imagine if we'd lost the first 2 games as well?
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, the fan base would be in an outrageous meltdown, rightly so. But yeah, we desperately need. I mean, I have to say, I'm looking forward to the window shutting as well, because this one feels like the most painful in terms of in the know bollocks and all of that type of stuff as well. I know it helps feed your content, but it's
Well, I've stopped doing
I
it,
mean,
mate. That's why I'm doing daily live streams now. I usually do my my uploads in the morning, but I've stopped doing them because I've just got no faith in any of it anymore. I'd rather just talk about it rather than doing videos about them. But don't worry, I'll get over that by January. In fact, September the 2nd, mate. September the 2nd. As soon as the window starts, like we're back on. We're on the January transfer window hype. Let me ask you this, mate. Last question for you before we round off, guys. I've got some super chats. I'll do the super chats first, actually. Future Music Sound says, big up from the 4th dimension in Banbury. Big up to you, Future's Music Sound, mate. I hope you're okay, buddy. Thank you very much for the super chat. I hope you're having a good Wednesday. Thank you so much for the generosity. And Phil Pesty Marshall, big up to you, Phil. What a name, Pesty. Big up to you, Pesty. And you are a new YouTube member. I'll be doing a YouTube fan phone-in show on Friday, I think. On Friday, probably the best day for it. Thank you very much, my man. Appreciate you so much for the loyalty. And Matt C, big up to you, Matt, says, can't wait for the once a week bomber when the Don is back. He has to get it done with his 10-minute call from the cell. My inmate. He's my inmate, 100%. Thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate you, buddy. Connor, last question, mate. How many people are going to protest on Saturday?
I think it depends what happens throughout the course of this week, doesn't it? Probably. I think that I had a really good we had a really good chat on this last night on the I did a Grumpy Old Spurs podcast, and the guys on there are Enoch and Levy out, but we had a bit of a balanced conversation about change for Tottenham, the process. I know you're speaking to Billy today, aren't you, as well?
Yeah, tonight,
yeah. And look, I think it's really difficult, right? I don't think it's not an easy job, and the guys have to you can't do right for doing wrong. For one section of the movement, it will be not strong enough. For the other section, it's too strong. And I know you raised the point about is change for Tottenham the right message, or should it? And I even grapple with this a little bit myself, because there's part of me which goes, should it not just be Enoch out? Because really, that is fundamentally what at least the organisers and a lot of the people who are really supporting it believe in, and then you've got this very clear, coherent message, in the same way Glazers out was a message and Mike Ashley out was a message. But then the other part of me goes, well, I can see why they've made it change for Tottenham, because they're trying to appeal to a broader audience, and to those that are more moderate. And so I don't think you can win. I think the problem for Tottenham, more so than Newcastle and United, probably is that there are still some fans that are on the fence, and I think there is still a balance. I don't think. I think the point you raise, where you say, that I don't think you say this exactly, but you imply it, that the size of the protest necessarily reflects the view. I don't think that's necessarily true, because I do think, for example, I know in my own circles, I know loads of people that are eating a cow, and they'd rather go to the pub than protest, just because people are lazy, right? And
yeah.
that happens, and you can do that with every movement, right? There's
You can
way more people.
You can reverse that as well and say sometimes people just want to be around when it's popular. People, like, they might not feel very strongly about it, but they're there just to be a part of something,
Perhaps. But you'll have that with all sort of protest movements, right? So that, whether it be grooming gangs, right? I'm sure the amount of people that go out and protest about the grooming gangs is a small percentage of the people that actually believe that that's a disgrace. And Palestine, the same thing, right? So you've got that. You've got that everywhere. The
Yeah,
one
that's
thing
true.
for me, though, I think your point. You raised a good point the other night. I was speaking to my dad about this as well, which was that how much more effort does it really take though to walk down the roads to the place you're already going? If
Yeah.
if you are an ENIC out supporter, and
Or if,
but
if
yeah, I
you
think
if
it's
you feel that
difficult.
strongly about it, it's not like you live in, you know, it's like if everyone was going to work, like just pick a different protest, right? Pick the, I don't know, there's a protest around like the raise the flags or whatever thing for the current immigration issues on September the 13th. So if you live in Essex or London or sorry, Surrey or Manchester or whatever else, if you really, really feel strongly about that, then you're going to get on the train to go down. If you agree with it, but you can't be bothered to let it like dictate your entire day, you might not travel that far. If you're going to the stadium anyway and you feel strongly enough about it, you will take the time to stand on one side of the road than the other. If you don't feel that strongly about it, but you are in the mindset of like, yeah, like, I wish you did better, but you're not like a vehement Levy out, then you could still go or you might not bother. But I just think that like when you make the banner so broad sweeping, like it can mean anything to you. Well, if you go on Twitter, everyone that's changed for Tottenham, most of them people are not saying, "Come on, Daniel, do better." Most of them are saying, "Get out of my fucking club, you parasite," or whatever, something like that, right? So, like the Twitter sphere uses the hashtag to represent a very extreme view, and yet the argument. And I'll speak to Billy about this next. I want to understand exactly what it is that it represents. But I think in trying to include more people, to me, it comes across as like an attempt to inflate the numbers of people that feel like they're Levy out by saying you haven't got to be Levy out. You could just want more ambition. But in reality, you're trying to grow numbers to make it look like more people are Levy out, vehemently Levy out than really are. Because the Levy out movement failed 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, etc.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that. I think there is also just trying to inflate the numbers of getting the board to change the way they are, and that can be them changing the way they are or changing it. Um, I mean, for me, look, I never really bought in. No, I think my views on Levy. I think he's got to go. I think he's out. I think he's out of his class. He's stepped out of his depth. I think he's, you know, I think he can't operate anymore. I think also when you've been somewhere for 25 years and it's a closed shop of people that you have to deal with, you naturally are going to upset people, but he does it worse than naturally anyway, and so the issue's exacerbated. So for me, he's got to go. But I've also always had the view that ENIC are the bigger issue than Levy himself. And so when we
Yeah.
had these conversations
He's just a
about is it being
representation of
like
it, though, right?
yeah, and he's intrinsically linked, obviously. But I think for me, we don't know the extent to which he's working within parameters that he would prefer were different as well, right? So,
Yeah.
and then no one can answer that question. And so, you know, is the reason that he's had to be so tight on deals and be this difficult is because he really feels like he's saving every penny because he knows they're not going to put in any to fill the gap, and he's done a fantastic job for ENIC in that respect. But so I don't buy into this like Levy is a cancer or a parasite type stuff. I think there's been some parasitic stuff that has happened from ENIC in terms of taking money out to fund property, and we've spoken about that, and I'm massively against that.
Mm-hmm. So am I.
But I don't think Levy out should be the message, because if Levy goes whilst ENIC are still there, you potentially get someone even worse, that is still operating within those parameters that are not fit for purpose. So yeah, I think it's difficult. I think it's difficult. I would say that the fan base is still too split for the movement to really get the numbers that it needs to. But if this window finishes like it is right now, that's going to swing again. for me a little bit. But football fans are fickle, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if we lose again, if we lose to Bournemouth, numbers will be mental. You'll hear if we go 1-0 down, you'll hear Daniel Levy get out of my club in the ground on Saturday. If we're 3-0 up, you won't hear it.
Yeah,
And to be
and
entirely
I mean,
honest,
'cause
I think Ange Postecoglou said it correctly, right? If you hated me yesterday, you shouldn't love me today. And if you loved me yesterday, you shouldn't hate me today. And I think that you shouldn't really be leaning. I believe that I said it at the start before you came on. It's a double-edged sword. Like on the one hand, if you're protesting every day, regardless of the energy, then you can look like you're just like
Consistent.
persistence, which can be admired and recognized and appreciated, but also you're not reading the room at times. And then on the other hand, if you're only ever protesting when things are bad, it looks like it's opportunistic. So that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not saying it's far from easy. It's far from easy. I don't know. Even if I felt the way that everyone else in that movement does, or the people that the stronger heads in that movement does, I wouldn't necessarily know. Like if I was invited into like a panel behind the scenes panel, go, well, what do we do here? Even if I put my mind into it, I still wouldn't know what the right way to go about it is, because I don't think it's not an easy solution, because you're trying to appeal to masses, and you have this fickle nature of fans where 1 minute you're going to be the flavor of the month, the next minute you're irrelevant, because that's just the way that football is.
Yeah, and I'm in that exact situation.
I think that you shouldn't appeal to everybody. I think that you should appeal to a specific narrative. I think you have to define your goal, and your goal can't be something as broad and and non-specific as change, because and then if you're just doing that to try and capture a broad movement to make the people think that it's Levy out, and therefore everyone that's here is Levy out, when they're not, when 50% of them just want him to do better or would like him to step aside. And that's something, if you're appealing to too many people, then it's like a vanilla movement. And I think that
You dilute your message almost, don't you? Too much.
100%.
That's the problem. Yeah, it's really, really difficult. I mean, but that is always the case with protest movements. Use the Palestine one as an example, right? Some people that are looking at the Palestine-Israel issue, the very extreme is that Israel shouldn't exist as a state, right? And then you work your way back from there that maybe the UK government should have a ceasefire, should cease providing weapons. Sorry, and there's lots of iterations, but maybe the core message is that they're not happy with what's going on there. And I think that's what they've tried to do here with Change for Tottenham. Is the core message is we're not happy with the way the board is operating. For some people, that means you change it. For some people, it means. But I just don't. You just made the point, which was you made the point. You wouldn't know, even if you felt that way, you wouldn't know what's the best course of action. And I'm in that situation a little bit.
Best course of action for them.
As someone who is
the idea of protests. I don't agree with the way that they conduct themselves on Twitter. I think it looks really, really poor at times. But I very much appreciate people like Billy. I don't know Jay. I've never actually even seen the guy, so I can't even comment on him. But I'm sure he's like Billy, like probably very articulate and all that stuff. And it's a very difficult thing to try to appeal to more people, just because you know that numbers equals, if you believe that advocacy is strengthened in numbers, then you want to appeal to more people. But I think in so doing, you're diluting your message. And then if there's this like a sinister approach of like logical incrementalism, where you capture everybody under some banner, and then bit by bit you move them in towards a Levy out thing, then that comes across as deceptive. So, to me, it's a very, really opaque and difficult to, and like it's an obfuscation of what it is that you're asking people to champion. And so for me, if I was to suggest anything, it would be to strip it back and allow people to have their own little micro movements, but just do them all in a less toxic way. Like the reason why the Levy out movement screwed up was they were clear with their message, but they demanded everybody to feel the way they did. And if you didn't feel the same way as them, then you're the problem. That's not the way that you win the hearts and minds of the middle ground. Right. So they fucked up in that narrative, but the movement at least was specific, that like the goal was specific, and at least you knew where they stood. And you can respect it or not, you can be on board it or not, but at least that the goal and the outcome was clear. It's just the way that they went about it, I think, put people off, put the moderate off. As change for Tottenham might encourage the moderate, but the moderate can mean anything. And so I think there's a problem with both sides. Like, I think you should have these. I think you're better off having these little factions, but as long as the factions handle their business in a more respectful way of other people and they tolerate that not everyone's going to feel the same way they do, that might be the way to go. But unfortunately, passion evokes emotion, and emotion equals outrage, and outrage can piss people off. So it's a difficult circle to square, Connor.
I agree, and I think they're also dealing with a situation where culturally English people and British people don't like the concept necessarily of protests, and being that way. I think there's a bit of that. I think there's we live in a country where people will moan about loads of stuff, but they don't go out and vote, right? So there's all these examples of things that you're also fighting against. I think when you're trying to, as I say, in the way that I know plenty of ENIC out fans that complain about ENIC and Levy all the time, but not even willing to go and stand on the protest because they'd rather go to the pub.
Yeah.
And so you've got that group. Then you've got the group that swing based on results. And so, it only takes a good performance against PSG and a couple of transfer links, and they go, oh, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, even though that was their view. And then you've got people that just fundamentally don't agree with it, obviously. And so this is what they're fighting. They're fighting against.
It's an example, right? It's an example. So this is obviously this guy, Mako, whoever you are. You'll leave you out, nothing will change. But when you start by calling people that feel different to you embarrassing, this is exactly the point I make. You're never going to win the hearts and minds of people that don't feel the same as you if you believe that it's the science is settled and that Levy out is the only way. Cool. If that's how you believe, the only way you're going to get your way, if you believe that protests work, is by getting more people to protest. But the way that you don't do that is by calling people that don't currently feel the way you feel embarrassing. It looks like you're singular track minded and you're polarizing. And so anyone that sees that and reads that goes, why would I be a part of the Levy out movement when you treat people that are not yet with you the way that you do? Like, fucking open your mind up, bozo, to the idea that not everyone feels the same way, but they might do in the future. But like, I'm at the point where I'll never be part of a Levy out movement because of the way I've been treated by the people that are currently in it. I might end up saying I want Levy to go. I'm already at the point where I'm happy for Levy to be sidestepped or with new owner. I'm already there, but I'll never be a part of the Levy out movement because of the way that they behave.
Yeah. I think that's where, to be fair, there's a bit more. And I've chatted to the guys about this. This is where they do need a bit more professionalisation and probably organisation and structure to it. They're organising protests 4 days beforehand and things like that are not helpful for me, because I think there are people that attend the protests who don't go to the games as well, right? And then they can't organise themselves to do that in time. And so I think that's interesting. I think it is really difficult. I do think the email thing, for example, you pulled it up on the other day. Obviously, the intention of that was to cause noise disruption, right? And to cause a bit of unhelpful noise for inboxes at Tottenham. But was that necessarily the right way to get across a very factual message? I'm not sure it was. And, what I've tried to do on my X account is not get into the emotion or the drama of, I don't like Levy.
This is another example. Right? This is another example, Connor, right? What's your name? Pierre Sternegard. I have a disease. It's my way or the highway. I've just spent the last 45 minutes talking to a Levy outer in a very respectful way about the best mechanism to move people into the direction you want. But you're saying it's your way or the highway. It's my way or the highway. It's not my way or the highway. But if I'm entirely honest, mate, that is a pot kettle black. That is a pot kettle black. Every time I throw up a different take, it's you're defending him again. How can you defend like it's settled science, bro? Open your mind that not everybody feels the way that you do. I don't care how you feel. You shouldn't care how I feel. But I don't think, I've never been on the other side of this, but I don't think that I've ever seen on Twitter people that are in the not Levy out movement telling people who are Levy out that you're fucking idiotic, that you're stupid, that you're this and that, you're an effing C, you're a complete prick, all that bollocks, because you don't see the world the way I do. I haven't seen that. It might happen. I'm sure people that are vehement Levy outers get some people that are calling them out as well. But like to sit there and think that it's not my way or the highway. You do what you want. Do what you want. But if you expect people to join your movement, then don't talk to people the way you're talking to them. That's not the way to win the hearts and minds, by calling someone a disease-ridden individual. Because, and by the way, I'm the least liberal, I'm the least left-leaning person you could possibly find. I'm more right. I lean more right than Brennan Johnson. Let's be entirely honest.
I mean, no, I think it's you get a bit of it as a Levy outer sometimes from people, but not a lot. You're right; it's obviously stronger that way. But I suspect there was probably a time when the likes of Brian Daigle, went way back when he was one of the first Levy outers. He definitely got abuse and things for it. The other way. So sometimes that does move with the momentum of the movement. Obviously, as you said, I think most people on Twitter, at least, are probably of the view that it's ENIC and Levy out. I would guess.
Yeah.
So
do you think that Twitter is a good representation of the fan base, or do you think it's a representation of like the angry side of humanity?
I don't think.
Do you find yourself engaging on Twitter in a more antagonistic manner than you would do if you were in the pub with if a stranger come up to you in the pub and said, "Hi Connor, I know you from YouTube. What's your thoughts on Mathys Tel?" Or they told you that they gave you an opinion that you didn't agree with, right? Do you think you would go, "You fucking idiot! What are you talking about? You don't know. You don't know anything." You wouldn't do it, right? But on Twitter, it encourages all of us to bring this version of ourselves out, right?
Of course, and obviously nuance is lost, right, in written text anyway, particularly when you got a limit on the number of characters. And so, I suspect if someone read through my Twitter, just even, I try and represent my view, but I can do it in a slightly more balanced way when I talk, right? Because I'm not capped by the number of, and obviously I also know what's going to drive some engagement, so I try and be shorter and to the point, right? But yeah, so I don't know Twitter. I don't think it is, but I also don't think my same argument would apply that I applied earlier, which is just because there's 20 people on a protest, it doesn't mean that there's only 20 people that
100%.
are off the.
I completely.
There's probably a happy medium between the two, right? Isn't
1 million percent. 1 million percent. But what I would also, I 100% agree with that. Like, there's definitely no debate there. But what I would also say is that if 250,000 people can turn up to Tottenham to celebrate a trophy win, more than 15 people can walk the other side of six. It's not like these people are not going to be in the area anyway. 62,000 people were at the stadium in January or February, whenever it was, when that protest happened, and 3,000 people turned up. I don't know whether it's 3, 2, 4, whatever. It's irrelevant. But about 5% of the stadium capacity was there that day, and that was the biggest march they've ever had. The one they did last week had about 20 people. So it might not represent the whole fan base for sure. But again, the point was, it's not like you're asking people to get on the train to go to something for no other reason other than a protest.
No, I agree.
You're going to the game anyway, so if you care that much, you could go and spend 5 minutes outside, stand behind the banners for a photo op.
Yeah, I mean, again, it does come back to that. It's easier to say things and be unhappy about something than, and there are people that just think, oh, what's the point as well, isn't there? Because it's not going to change, which ultimately we all know that the protest in and of itself is not going to make ENIC sell up. Right? They've got their own exit strategy. If they ever, it might be the case that they pass it down in perpetuity through trust arrangements forevermore, and we never see new owners at the football club in our lifetime. Who knows, right?
Which would suck. Which absolutely suck, because I'm as I said, mate. Like I've been saying this for a long time, but people don't want to hear this. But I would love to see a new owner. I really would, just to see what a fresh set of eyes and ears can do. Right? And I 100% agree that I think Daniel Levy has taken the club from X to X times 10. But now you're competing with people that are at X. and your X times 10 is your relationship with money. You've got to this point, but now you're swimming in a different size pool, right? And there's bigger fish in there. And people like Bowley don't worry about a million here or a million there. They're not dealing with 6 zeros. They're dealing with 8, 9 zeros in their previous worlds, right? So I 100% get on board and can subscribe to all of those narratives. And I'm very, very interested to see what a new owner looks like. But I still want to know what that looks like before I just go, yeah, cool. I still want to know who it is. I still want to know what their ambitions are. I
You
still
won't
want to
be
know their
able
access
to,
to capital.
obviously.
I know you, and obviously, all of this, mate, like all of our opinions, everyone that's watching, everyone that comes on streams, we're all just like essentially offering a platform for everybody to sort of get their shit off their chest. But none of it matters. It doesn't matter how many times you and I say buy Ademola Lookman. If Thomas Frank doesn't want it, or Atalanta doesn't want it, or Tottenham doesn't want it, it's not going to happen, right? So it's largely irrelevant, but it's just it's like a therapy session to be able to get your thoughts off your chest, right? But I would still like to know what the next iteration of ownership looks like. And I still think whoever that is, even if it was the PIF fund, I make the point earlier, Newcastle are going through the exact same experience that we are this summer. They're being little broed left and right, and so are we. And I think that doesn't change with the new owner necessarily. You might have been able to get Eze done. You might have been able to get Gibbs White done if they'd gone about it a different way. But the argument that if we're looking to fish in a bigger pool for the best players, the argument that those players are not going to have their heads turned by bigger clubs, we are not at the top of the food chain. And that's not going to change whether the PIF is in charge or whether the Sultan of Brunei is in charge or whoever. You might get slightly better outcomes in isolation without Daniel Levy nickeling and diming, but you still have to respect the food chain.
Yeah, to some extent, obviously, there is the context of the fact that the rules have been what have hamstrung Newcastle and Villa in a way that they won't with us, obviously, because we've got that much headroom, and obviously it's something that you would need to do gradually. I mean, in both of our recent history, we finished above Arsenal for 6 years, right? And it's just been because of the trajectory of the two clubs and the fact, I would argue we didn't use it as a springboard for success under Poch, and we underinvested at that point. And you can argue, was that because of the stadium? But obviously, we were told the stadium would have no impact on transfers, and there's lots of moving parts. But I do think that I think we would see vastly different outcomes.
You think we would see? You think we could go if we had the PIF fund in charge of Tottenham right now, without the PSR restrictions? Do you think we could attract an Isak to Tottenham?
Perhaps not immediately, but Tottenham would win the league, in my view.
Tottenham would win the league if you had a PIF fund owner.
If you had, yeah.
Fucking up, mate. You know what? I was going to end the show 20 minutes ago, but I want to chew that through. Can we chew? You got 10 more minutes?
Yeah, I got 10 minutes here, yeah.
Okay, 10 minutes. Let me just quickly do these super chats because they're nice ones. 19 Dirty Dog, big up to you, my man. Thank you so much for the very generous super chat. He says, we are screwed. Inil Levy stops negotiations. Is that we are screwed unless Levy stops negotiations? I think that's what you're saying there. 19 Dirty Dog. I agree, mate. Like, I don't want Daniel Levy running the negotiations. I haven't for a long time. I think that he has a certain way about him, and I think he's pissed a lot of fans off. I think a lot of other clubs off. I think he's burnt a lot of bridges. I would love someone else to handle it, but I also don't think that that's clean. It's not a clean conversation. I think that you still need someone in the background telling whoever it is, listen, you can go to this level, and how that looks, whether Daniel Levy says, okay, Paratici, you handle it, but ultimately you have to get to this point. This is the maximum you can go to. The 500 grand here and there, all that bollocks might be Daniel Levy's like his Achilles heel, 100%. And I'd love to see someone else doing it. But this idea that Daniel Levy or someone else has nothing to, like a bean counter, has nothing to do with transfers anymore. It's just, in my opinion, and I'm happy to be explained by someone who knows better than I do why that is possible. I don't think on paper it is. Someone at the club who is a bean counter will still have to be telling everyone what isn't possible in the negotiations, although the negotiations might be able to go smoother. But yeah, I'd like to see him excluded from negotiations if it was clean. Appreciate you, Dirty Dog. He's actually come back in for a second one. Thank you again, mate. He says Tottenham in a way better place. Is Levy better at commercial operations than team operating? Connor, I'll let you go. I think we can all agree on that one, can't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, he's brilliant at the commercial side. And the team operating stuff is, it's proven to be problematic too many times. 100%. 100%. It'd be lovely to see it. I don't know what the next iteration looks like. Thank you very much, mate. Very generous of you, buddy. Very, very cool indeed. So Connor, just last take then, because that was an interesting one. You think that if we had the PIF fund in charge, specifically the Newcastle owners, that we would be winning the league in how long a period of time?
5 years.
Okay, walk me through that logic.
I think we are. I think with the amount of headroom we've got in terms of PSR plus UEFA rules, we've got relatively the biggest headroom of anyone. I think I look at. I don't even need to use PIF right as an example. I could use Arsenal as an example. So Arsenal, if they win the league this year, which I think will happen,
Okay.
since the Cronkies have got more involved in Arsenal and they've had a clear aligned strategy with the Cronkies investing 334 million of their own money into Arsenal since Arteta's been in role, having a manager that they've backed every window, identifying targets for the right positions, having that clear, coherent strategy with the right ambition. This year, they're going to get really close, by the way, to the UEFA squad cost rule. And they're going to be close to breaching it. I think the fact that Arsenal showed that they could get to that position shows that Tottenham could, with an even more ambitious set of owners with that headroom.
Okay, so but they've signed Eze. We wanted him, but he chose Arsenal. Right? We wanted
other players, and there's other players as well, right?
Let's play the thought experiment for a second that Tottenham were legitimately interested in Hincapie. He picked up the phone, had a conversation. He said, his agent said Arsenal are also interested. He wants to go to Arsenal. Is that because Arsenal are just paying more money? Or is that because Arsenal are a bigger draw? Exactly.
It's because they're a more exciting project, right? Whereas we become a very, very different project, don't we? If our project is, look, we're happy to pay what we need to pay always. We'll be able to compete in terms of transfer fees, wages, structures of deals, agent fees, everything in terms of financially. Plus, we have this unfettering ambition to win. Okay. Whereas at Tottenham right now, there is not an unfettering ambition to win.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
And I think
what happened to the Sesko deal, though?
Sorry, say that again.
So, like the Sesko deal, like Newcastle were willing to pay the money. Newcastle wanted the guy. He went to United and sat on the bench. A team that finished 16th.
I think there's a few points with Newcastle. I think they've almost been too compliant with the rules in some ways, which sounds a really odd thing to say, but they've almost not cheated, right?
They haven't cheated yet, and credit to them. Yeah.
And I think some of that is to do with sports washing and trying to portray a positive image of Saudi Arabia, which obviously we wouldn't have to worry about because of the headroom point. So we don't need to worry about cheating because we've got so much headroom. It wouldn't even be an issue for us.
Yeah, but they had the room to sign Sesko if they wanted to. Sesko chose to go to United for a different reason.
Yeah. But my point is because of that, almost that conservatism before. They've had this little bit of an up and down, a little bit, right? They had the Champions League, didn't have it. Now they got it again. You know, if they had been less conservative and had cheated, arguably it would have been a smoother transition to the top. And so, you know, they're definitely
okay, fine. Right. So you're saying, and maybe also like on top of that, Sesko says, "If I come, who's next?" And they say,
and it hasn't quite taken off as much as it could have, right?
Fair enough. Fair point.
Newcastle as a place, I think I don't want to say it, people probably get upset in the chat, but London is a different proposition to Newcastle, right?
Yep.
The stadium and obviously all the facilities and all of that type of stuff is already in place for us. So I do think we are in a a different position to a Newcastle or a Villa. But I mean, they've even at a Newcastle, you know, they were 17th when Piff took over. Now got Champions League 2 years out of 3 and won their first trophy for 50, 60 years. So, you know, it shows what can be done. So yeah, for me, look, I think, and this is where there is some credit, obviously, because we are in this situation where, but this is why I find it so frustrating, because the platform that we could take advantage of is so massive.
Yeah, so it's almost like thank you next rather than get out of my club.
Yeah, a little bit.
Is that fair? No, or you are get out. You are get out of my club. You are get out of my club.
Maybe I'm on this side. You're here on thank you next. Get out of my club is here, and I'm somewhere
Yeah,
here.
fair enough.
Maybe.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm more of a thank you next. I think I'm more of a thank you next, but I still want to know what next looks like, and I still would maintain that a lot of the players that Tottenham think they could attract and that went somewhere else, if it wasn't for Daniel Levy, I think they wanted to go somewhere else because of the higher propensity of winning a higher frequency of trophies more regularly. And I think that those things take a hell of a long time to build. That reputation, that brand, the fact that Sesko chose United over Newcastle wasn't down to PIF behaving themselves. It was because Manchester United have got a bigger brand and a bigger draw that's taken decades and decades to forge. I think that Chelsea have forged that same thing in a relatively short period of time, probably 20 years, through Abramovich, and then obviously the very unique, specific environment that Todd Boehly inherited that club. But on top of that, despite having all that money that Abramovich had before the rules came in, they were still cheating, right? And so Boehly like acknowledged the cheats or whatever that like and paid a fine, and there's more maybe to come on that in the future. So despite all of their luxurious opportunities that were very unique, they were still cheating. And then the 115 charges at City, they had all the money, they had all the resources, they had built all those ecosystems, and they were still cheating, allegedly. And Liverpool have always had a bigger brand, a bigger draw. It's Liverpool. It's the biggest team in the world in terms of draw, in my opinion, apart from maybe Real Madrid. And then Arsenal maybe is a fairer comparison, but they also were more successful than Tottenham. And so I make the same argument. I still haven't been given an argument that makes me think that you take Daniel Levy out of the equation, you might be able to get an Eze more easily. You might be able to, get a Morgan Gibbs White over the line if we didn't do it in a certain fashion. But are you still going to be able to draw a Rodrigo to Tottenham with the PIF fund? I'd still say no.
Not immediately. But
Yeah.
I think it's I think you can't underestimate that just change in ethos and mindset, which is backed up by huge amounts of wealth. But that just mindset change from going from and it's something we've never had under ENIC, to be completely frank, is our mindset has never been to want to win everything, right? It's been to do the best that we can with what we've got, and
I agree with that.
Great.
I agree with that.
I think that unfettering ambition that you go, which is backed by something that's worth trillions, say an example of PIF, we're going to win everything. Suddenly it becomes an exciting project, and then at the start you sign players like Eze or Gibbs White Pats, and then you continue to do that window after window, and it gradually happens, right? But yeah, I mean, let's see. Hopefully, it happens at one point in our lifetime. We'll be able to test that theory. But for what it's worth, I think, were we to be bought by Middle Eastern money,
I'll be on board it. I'd champion it 100%.
I would keep Levy for a year, not doing anything football related. But I think there is a benefit in keeping some of the management team from the previous, and this happens all the time in businesses, right, for at least a year, so that they help you through that transition. Because I think the problem with Boehly and Chelsea is they basically got rid of everyone, right? And then it was, a load of Americans who didn't really have a clue about running a football club at first, throwing, and obviously it's ended up working because it will when you spend that amount of money. But I think there's ways of doing it. I think you got to do. Yeah,
you know what I would do, mate?
Gradually.
If I was a trillionaire that was coming in to buy Tottenham, the first thing I would do would be go and get the very best director, because this, even if the Sultan of Brunei takes over Tottenham, they still, and you want a sideline leaver, you still need someone to be in charge of the footballing side, right? Because just because they're oil barons doesn't mean they know football. So you'd go and get whoever your cheeky, whatever his name is, the that version of him. And it's probably not Paratici. Maybe the guy from Paris Saint-Germain, someone like him. Like, you get the very best director of football that you can, and you pay that guy whatever it costs to bring him in. And then you could also possibly go and like hire someone like a Pini Zahavi or a Jorge Mendes, like one of those guys that like a super agent, and you pay them an obscene amount of money as well. Like, they probably make 20, 30 million quid a year out of transfers. You can pay that sort of money as well to them and make sure that they're going out there finding the best players for you and doing that.
Well,
sort
this
of
is
thing.
another issue we've got, actually, is in terms of agent fees. This is another place where I think we're a little bit behind the curve. I mean, I was looking over the last year, which was to February 2025. We paid less in agent fees than Leeds, who were in the Championship at the time, and we were about 9th in the Premier League. And then, you start to wonder, is that one of the reasons why we struggle to get some deals over the line, and we struggle to sell players as well, because we're not willing to be ambitious in terms of paying agents. And obviously no one wants, and someone's commented, football agents are parasites. Look, I completely get that argument, and I get that in an ideal world they wouldn't run football in the way that they do, but unfortunately that's the reality of life now, isn't it? Football agents run football and intermediaries, right? And
Is
so
what it is, right?
I think we've got to change our approach to that, right?
Yeah, mate. Fascinating show, mate. For me, I really enjoyed the conversation. I always enjoy the conversation with you, Connor. It's always a great chinwag. Mate, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you, everyone, for hanging around. There's still 1,300 people here. Please do smash the like, subscribe. Also, get over to Connor on Twitter. If you are a Twitter fiend, if you love that toxicity, Connor's actually very brilliant. He's brilliant on his Twitter thing. I think, Connor, are you starting your own, what do they call it? What's that? The thing that Swiss Ramble does? You're doing a Substack, are you?
Yeah, I am. When I get a minute, I'll try to. Too busy coming on shows like this, aren't I?
It's tempting anyway. It's easier to talk than it is to write, isn't it? Much easier. Listen, I appreciate everyone for coming around. Thank you, everyone, for the super chats.
Yes.
I'll be back at 6 p.m. For the Chinwag with Billy T. Should be a really cool conversation, so please come back for us then. And we'll be back tomorrow as well for more. Connor, thank you so much again. Please go over to Levynomics1882 on Twitter, and I will see you lads and ladies this evening. Appreciate you all. Take care. Bye.